what is. KP, it's game number 1. It's mountain clearing. I hear the sheep bleating. I hear the logs getting chopped. It's time.
It's time to get it started. This is what we've been building to. 3 rounds after we began with qualifiers built into this. The winner of this series walks away with $17,000 as well as being crowned Golden League 2 champion. Beastie, having been in this position before, being denied, can he make it happen this time, already taking out the previous champion? Or is LucifroN going to find himself bouncing from height to height and performing at the best that we would have seen him since the release of the game? All begins here, my friend.
It all begins here, on the east side, as the Holy Roman Empire, in the color yellow, spawning in the Thunderdome for the first time in the grand finals, KP. It is LucifroN7, baby. Let's see some cheers in the chat, KP. I know you're a LucifroN fan. What are we going to see out of the man today? Are you thinking we're seeing Fast Castle right here?
What if you just like act as if you want Fast Castle, but you play Feudal and try to end the game? That's what I'm thinking here. What if that's your advantage? We always talk about Fast Castles if it has to be the biggest unlock. It's a benefit the HRE, but they already hit a big benefit in Feudal Age with the Archon. Especially on maps like this where you can get gorgeous generations. You know, he's got the gold, he's got the stone, he's got the wood on the backside. I could actually see a world in which he just tries to outmass archers against the roofs. And you know what? I think there's a window where you can actually do that because of that 40% gathering speed.
All right, well, over on the west side, in the color blue, playing as the Rus, we've got Beastyqt. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 of the world's best players. KP, what kind of strategy you reckon Beastie's going to open us up with?
I mean, it's got to rely on that Kremlin placement, right? That's going to tell you a lot of what his goal is. We've already seen the hunting cabins come down. This has become a key opener, especially in the Thunderdome. Look at that hunting cabin. 50 gold. That's the exact number you said at the beginning, Drongo, and he cracks it. This one's probably going to be worth about another 26, maybe 27. And, folks, that's just 2. He's still got plenty of room to build more hunting cabins here.
It is, there is plenty of room here, but we do see the Archon coming down right next to the town center. So he's got a beautiful little spot here. Hits stone, hits gold, obviously hits wood and hits the TC. That's a 10 out of 10. I don't think you can get any better than that. Opening us up with a 10 out of 10 Archon Chapel over on the other side. And it's going to be a center map Kremlin.
Uh-oh.
Hello. If you haven't met my friend the Boar, well, now is the time. Oh, look at that. Beautiful spot by Beastie. Just nails it. Absolutely nails it, KP.
He's not the Pumbaa Whisperer we came to expect here, just out of range, and I believe it's going to remain that way. Beastie on point with his own scout, just denying it each time. So this will be going up, right? It's got to be going up. There's no way. It's just out of range. He's never going to do it.
Oh. There's no way. As 11 villagers move in from the right side of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 1 in the Thunderdome. As you would expect, we've got a Thunderdome special for you, and the Kremlin gets cancelled. There's no gremlins today, at least not for you, Mr. Beast.
Just trying to run away, trying to escape, trying to be something you aren't, to run away to the HRE. Not the Civ I'd expect to see rushing out with villagers of that quantity. But LucifroN is that confident that it's do or die. He remains here with a few. He'll get the shivs out and start partying. And look what he forces out of Beastie. Beastie has to bring more. But LucifroN sent his home. So he has a choice here. He has to pull the entire villager force, or he has to abandon ship. What's it going to be?
And this is so dangerous for Beastie here because LucifroN's put torches into this landmark already. If Beastie cancels the landmark, there is the potential that he won't have enough to rebuild the landmark again. And now we see real trouble as the age up happens for LucifroN behind the scenes. He's still got 12 villagers working away on food, and Beastie's pulled 12 villas for this Kremlin. He's going to lose the first one. Beastie in trouble already in game number 1. He's still got so much time. The beautiful surround on that villager. We see a second villager go down, KP.
LucifroN's just so on point there, right? He yoinks whatever he can and he gets out. And the reality is, sure, he idled a bunch of villagers, but so did Beastie. Meanwhile, while this was all going on, the second part of the party, LucifroN had gone home to sleep off his hangover. He was gathering at home again. Meanwhile, Beastie was not. It is going to give him an edge here. Gets his tech up faster. Should have enough resources to open up with a few units first. I think Beastie needs to maybe lean into Pumbaa. But, I mean, is Pumbaa going to come close enough? LucifroN killed it over there. Oh,
he killed
wow.
it. LucifroN, you cheeky, sneaky man. I can't believe that he kills Pumba. Look where he killed it. It's in the middle of
There's
nowhere.
no way you're getting that. So like now so consider how bad this is for a Roost player. Your wooden influence doesn't affect your lumber camp. So you kind of want a wooden fortress back there. But now if you want to have the boar, you need a wooden fortress halfway across the map. Like, what's it going to be? Because there's no way you can afford both here.
Yeah, it's not happening today. It's not happening today. Look, we'll head back to the drawing board and we'll work it out from here. But take a look at LucifroN. Speaking of drawing board, as he suffers a little bit of idle time here, Militia doing their best on that backside. But we've got ourselves a pretty heavy investment here into wood. Is this the sign of a second town center potentially, or do you think he's going to be looking to play into military units instead?
I think you could go second TC here. I think archers was also a decent option considering like the lay of the land. But you'd be doing it against Roos, right? So like, although you still are stronger with a 40% gathering speed buff compared to the 20% extra drop off the Roos in the wood department, like it's still you playing into their strength instead of away from it, right? So I think that this could be a second TC play, especially with the walls now going up on the flank and the fact that stone is underneath the Archon as well.
Yeah, nice little walls coming in from LucifroN. This is really good. Forces those militia underneath the town center, so they're going to cop a little bit of damage. Beastie, just going to look to go around the edge of the map, though.
Look at that tree line, dude. It's like if you didn't look at the mini map.
Okay, yeah,
they just cover themselves
looking at
in
that
lards.
right now. Looking at it right now, it looks like that's fine. LucifroN probably going to be wondering how the hell they got through there. Beastie very smartly sends back a militia just in case someone looks to wall in that little spot.
But this is like one of those civs where you annoy them, but you don't really stop them. Like, bro, all right, yeah, he's gliding right there. That's how quick he's going.
He had his skates on for a second, didn't he?
Yeah, the little rollers that the kids have, right? You just like go up with the heelys.
Yeah. Yeah, heelys. Yeah, that's the one.
But we don't even have boots, my lord.
I'm curious to see exactly how Beastie's doing because obviously he's fallen behind by 2 vills at this point. It was a tough early game, so LucifroN's had a really solid advantage. The question for me is going to be about how Beastie's able to get back on his feet after suffering such an early, tough defeat.
I wonder if he's like considering just feigned aggro into Castle Age. It's a wacky idea, but like I think it's more because of catch up. Just look at the resource, by the way. LucifroN's already there. Did you see that food bank?
Oh my lord! It's a Burgrave Palace.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Do you know how he got it? Look at where the deer were. He did actually push them in. It looked like he sniped most of them away, but he shoved a few in range of the Archon. That's how he got such a stupidly good timing here. Deer gather.
Wow. Okay. All right. It might not be the right time to debut my brand new song, but I've got Burger on my mind, and it is all about this time. Look at this Burger positioning as well. He's just going to be able to ram Palace Guards. He's going to be able to ram Men-at-Arms in.
And down his throat,
I feel like this might be GG right here.
Yeah, because like if we could just check where Beastie has placed his defensive landmark to defend his base. Oh, it's defending the sacred. So what's defending Beastie's base, right? Because look at the generation and tell me how many resources are not safe. His food gathering is fine, but that gold line looks penetrable, and this wood line definitely doesn't look safe.
You know what's absurd to me is the fact that LucifroN ages up at 8 minutes and 19, which is considered a pretty decent time, despite literally having 8, 10, 12 villagers idle for a minute in the early game.
Plus the prelate, remember, plus the prelate. So he's missing the HRE 40% gathering speed in the early game as well. That's bonkers.
It's absolutely wild. But now the Men-at-Arms are coming out. They're flooding out. Now remember, Men-at-Arms train incredibly quickly with the Burgrave. If I remember correctly, it's 4 seconds for a Men-at-Arms. We can double check. Vodka will take us over in a second. But you need a huge economy to support the Burgrave Palace at its strongest.
Yeah, 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Because it's like 5 and 1. And, well, Beastie is going to make his way up himself. It's going to be the high trade house, so no one's really fixated on these relics straight away, which is interesting considering the placement. I wonder if this is LucifroN's goal all along. It's possible considering how small the map is, right? If the map is smaller, naturally the Burgrave player is going to be stronger, especially when you start with the deer stacks near to your base. And, well, the Men-at-Arms are getting close to the enemy base now, and they should be diving for the gold and the wood line. That should be their key target here.
Yeah, well, let's see exactly how he plays it out because there is production in the back of the base and villagers immediately jumping inside the town center. He cancels out that 3rd archery range. Now, remember here on the defense, we theorized this matchup. He's going to need at least 2 crossbows as well as militia called from the town center to help his front. The problem is that there's 14 men-at-arms already out on the field here. And LucifroN's going to be looking to pick up upgrades as well. Keep in mind, Holy Roman Empire get access to that faster-moving infantry tech.
Has he got it yet, though? Like, did he? Because the blacksmith like wasn't there before the tech up, right? So like,
have a look what's in queue right now.
Yeah, so it's on the way. So this is delayed. Also, the way that Beastie's laid his base, if he used the militia correctly, he can hold. Because what he can do is he's going to create these choke points that the men-at-arms can't get on top of you with. But the militia need to be there. Like this. Instead, he's going to choose to start garrisoning them in the TC. That's a cool idea here, but you're sacrificing everything else in the meantime. And you're still going to need food to afford these crossbows. Where's he getting that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Where is he getting it? You can see just how much he's starting to suffer. In the middle of the map, Kremlin is slowly taking out the reinforcements, but he is struggling at this point, finds food in the north. You can see the crossbows doing a wonderful job, just popping them in, popping them out. Every little spot a chance he gets, he makes sure that they're dishing out damage.
But he's not killing them, right? Like, I'm looking at the number going up. The only reason Beastie feels like he's still in this game, it's not just the berry patch he went to, it's that he built the high trade house, so he's spawning deer. But that's only going to get you so far here, right? And now just look at it. The men-at-arms count is big enough. I think he now just takes out the archery ranges, and that's going to be GG. There's no comeback at that point.
He can always just pop Vils out to repair. Oh, yeah, this is so difficult.
Against this many, right? Like, I feel like you lose villages each time.
The problem is, even if he's able to hold from this position, he's already down almost 10 villages in this situation.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult hold for him. He calls out the gremlins from the Kremlins. Not going to be able to do too much with them, able to just pad the front.
Okay. That's not too bad. He pulls across the Kremlin, so he splits up the aggro. He's still 1 archery range down, though. Second one's still operational. Now, LucifroN, it looks like he's running out of steam. I wouldn't be surprised if he's prepping a farm transition. So, Beastie, if he can weather this storm, if this doesn't start to pick up, there is a world in which the Roost player can rebuild.
All right, well, Prelates
are
picking up relics.
LucifroN knows. He's checking the flank. That berry patch that's keeping Beastie alive, LucifroN's got wise to it. He's like, well, there's only one way that you're able to afford these. And you can check on the deer stack.
Yeah, yeah, we can see. Oh, the Vils.
Oh, my God.
They're working together against each other.
So he should know now.
He moved men-at-arms out there almost immediately. Oh, villager.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's already units going up there now. Men-at-arms on the way. But
So,
this gives Beastie an opportunity. He's up to 4 crossbows.
That's
And keep in
true.
mind, he can always just pop them back inside the town center. This is what's so good about having the TC right here, is he can just pop them in and out. Look at the micro coming out from Beastie. As long as he's got this top side of the town center open, he's still technically in play. Problem's going to be once those men-at-arms do chase back the villagers, he's not going to have a whole lot of space left in here.
Now, there's a pushback. The villagers retreating back towards the base. LucifroN, he stopped producing men-at-arms. There must be a transition underway. I wouldn't be surprised if we're now going to start seeing maybe farms added in the coming minutes. Beastie has weathered the storm, but you said it earlier on. He is still down. No small count in terms of villages, right? Half his eco has been idle this whole time. He's already trailing by 12. And remember, there is the HRE, and a decent chunk of their economy is still buffed by that Arcade.
All right, well, the numbers here starting to build for Beastie. He's up to 6 crossbows, which is more than enough to deal with these men-at-arms. He looks like he might be stabilizing KP.
I think one big thing that's helped him is just the passive gold. Like, we never checked what the high trade house is giving. We know that the hunting cabins he plays is probably giving him like 100 gold plus per minute, right? I think that the high trade house rather placement is probably like 120. So I think that's actually done a lot for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he drops a marketplace soon just to try and trade that across.
I am genuinely impressed that he held that. But look, hey, we specifically talked about this interaction before the game started because we realized that this is probably going to be the likely outcome. Beastie obviously realized it was the likely outcome as well. Says, I'm going to go straight into crossbows. I'll defend with the Kremlin. Obviously, it didn't go well for him in the early game, and that he suffered a lot because of it. But still, he's managed to find a way back into the game right now.
And now we see the switch up. So LucifroN going into Mass Horseman. Just as pricey as the men-at-arms investment. But Beastie has become one-dimensional, and there's a risk that, you know, if he can't get back on those eco lines and reboost fast, he might not have the flexibility to transition. I think that's what LucifroN's playing off of. And one big edge he has in that regard is the lack of information that Beastie has on the map, right? 0 scouts. He's only got his static emplacements. He doesn't know what's coming.
Obviously, he's got access to the Kremlin militia at any point that he needs them. And if he gets pushed, as long as he's able to make a full retreat towards that town center, the Kremlin's the Kremlin Gremlins will come out and save him. So, you know, as long as he's able to keep that in mind, and I'm sure he will, he's one of the world's best players, it should be fine. And we do see now a couple of tickets used. Can we check on that Kremlin just how many tickets he's got and whether Beastie spots out these horsemen from his opponent?
Should be like 6, maybe? None. Did he use them all?
He's got no tickets. He's used every single ticket so far.
Oh, yeah.
We're right on board with Beastie. Get an idea of his line of sight. He definitely spots out the enemy horseman at this point.
We'll assault in. Horsemen are able to body block, so if you feel more villagers going down, that's now a 15 villager lead that LucifroN has. He's yet to sacrifice a single one himself. Dive in, the commitment. Remember, a lot of these crossbowmen were chipped away at by the men at arms, so the horsemen will get a good trade-off. Because that lack of militia you talked about, well, there's no gremlins coming to save you. It's not Christmas time for Beastie. And now the men at arms are breaching past onto the wood lines. That's a lot of idle time again for Beastie.
Yeah, as long as he keeps these crossbows alive, he'll be okay. He needs to maintain the crossbow mass, and it looks like he's doing it. The Kremlin Gremlins doing a great job of just defending the position, and he's able to hold more men at arms. Going to come through, but Beastie with the Wallalol able to defend this position. More units being rallied in, and LucifroN gonna have to back away from this position. Keep in mind, even though Beastie's down 17 villagers at this point, he's still got the passive gold that's trickling in his favor.
Even more now, right? Because he's banking those relics on top of the hunting cabins, so he must be getting, I want to say, well, this is the full 224, right? It's going to be like 360, 380 at this rate. 3 relics already been banked for LucifroN. Of course, this is not the Regnit's build, so he's not getting that bonus gold. But he is now starting to layer in a few farms. This is the hard point for the HRE. I say hard point, though. This is, alongside the English, probably the easiest civ to make a farm transition because of how quickly they pay off in terms of that buff you get with the gathering rate.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think, yeah, up there with farm transitions, obviously English #1, but definitely the Holy Roman Empire up there. Same with the Abbasid dynasty, another great civilization to be transitioning with because they've got those cheaper farms also. A little bit of a horseman push around the top side. Expect Beastie to be moving into more heavier spear combos as the first spears have now hit the field. He's got 2, 3 of them out so far. And those horsemen could be heading into a bit of a trap back there. They're not careful.
Yeah, they're going to back off the right way. This has still been walled in. This has really kept Beastie alive, by the way. This play up here, not just the generation of gold, it's the fact that he's had deer. He's had that food. Even when he was being starved out, there was at least like 5 or 6 villagers giving him something. I truly believe if it wasn't for that choice by Beastie, he would have waved that white flag when the first men arms came in, because he would have been flatlining on food.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And take a look at this. We got veterancy on archers coming through for LucifroN.
Oh, I love this. Okay, when does an HRE player do this in Castle Age?
I don't...
Never.
Very, very rarely, especially at the top level. It is incredibly rare to see them go for an archery range, let alone archers. You know, crossbows sometimes in the HRE mirror. But look at this spearmen just all over the shop right now. Should be able to close this out. And LucifroN takes out another villager, but it buys Beastie more tempo as he takes out more units.
The crazy part is, like, Beastie's already going into a siege workshop, and now LucifroN's like, does he know? Did he see something? Or is this just because he doesn't have food? He mainly just has wood and gold, right? Like, given the Roosters' position in this game... Yeah, oh, sorry, I'm an idiot. That's not a Siege Workshop. Ignore it, it's Iraq's. All right, that changes everything. I was going to say, like, it's hard to get into, but, like, Siege Workshop might eventually be his only option anyway. The fact that he's not even prepping for it means that LucifroN is going to completely catch him off guard with this play.
Yeah, but the TC should be able to help him defend it. Nice little raid once again from LucifroN. Beastie moving into a third TC, or into a second TC, rather. So this is a way for him to get back into the game. But remember, it's going to take him 20 villages. So he obviously wants to get up to parity with his enemy. He's down 21 vills at the moment. So he needs to make 21 vills times 2, 42. So he's going to be looking at about 7 minutes of production before he's even back at the same level as to what LucifroN is. But that's a way back in for him.
With limited food as well, remember that, Drongo. Like, you start out in a few farms, but that's in the early phases. And, you know, like I said, between these two civs, HRE gets into that farm transition much easier. Like, it's 20% compared to 40%. Like, think about it this way. The HRE finds it 4 times easier because they gather 40% faster, whereas as the Roost unit get an extra 20% wood. But on top of that, the HRE is gathering both the food and the wood faster. So the payoff point is actually 4 times quicker than for the Roost. It's kind of bonkers when you think of it that way.
Yeah, that is indeed a lot. But we do see Rus moving into spear crossbow. Obviously, one of my favorite compositions to see players going into. Spear crossbow, it's a really safe composition against everything, against pretty much mass archer horsemen, which is exactly what LucifroN is doing right now.
The Rams. So, he's prepping the
yeah.
Rams. This is what I was waiting for.
Yeah, this is it. So Beastie here needs... He needs a mangonel. A mangonel is the key to this composition working right here. As long as he's got a single mangonel, he should be fine. But you're playing up against LucifroN, who's some of the best micro in the world. He's done a few dodges in his time, I can tell you that much.
The kinding game, guys, not the one on the ladder. He's not one of those people. Now, LucifroN honorably charges into battle, which is what he's doing now. We saw early on in this game. We're going to see plenty more of it. The double ram play, problematic. You know, Beastie, if he wants to get rid of these, he's going to have to throw Spearmen in, which means the archers are going to be there to just obliterate your only real defense, right? Because there's horsemen are waiting.
And if he gives up the Kremlin, he will lose access to those tickets that he needs for the imminent fight. And the mangonel's in queue now for Beastie. This is exactly what he needs to hold this fight. The problem is it's just coming a little bit too late. It's actually got pretty decent timing on it. It looks like it's about to pop out. He could pop this bad boy out and immediately hit the front row of archers. Let's see how he goes. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Off the top rope, Randy Orton with the RKO. Whether he's going to hit it or not is a different question, but he comes through. It's a nice dodge. Beautiful dodge by LucifroN. Jeez Louise.
I mean, that was his one hope, right? The problem was LucifroN was microing actively at that moment, quick to react, and now moves forward. This massive horseman's dangerous. Beastie. Notice that he uses his buildings as choke points. This will be the blocker, but there's an X factor coming. LucifroN has started to layer in a few Lansk. Those Lansk could obliterate this spearman mass in the blink of the eyes.
All right, well, Mangonel's trading out on shots on each other. Still a pretty big spear mass on the front side. He's going to try and hold on for a little bit longer. Mangonel number one goes down for LucifroN. Now Beastie going to be looking to turn his attention towards the enemy archers, but the numbers start to dwindle. The horsemen make their way through. The Mangonel continues falling back. He needs an additional siege workshop. The first one's about to go down. The second one's starting to come up. Ville's getting pulled now to repair up that Mangonel. He manages to keep it alive a little bit. Oh my God, KP, is it going to go down? He pulls more Villes. The Mangonel, the one Mangonel to save the day for Beastie. He's held on somehow through all of this madness.
And he's got repairs on the Springald as well, so the Springald trade might not go the way of LucifroN, but Beastie, he peels off to go for the Siege Workshop, so he's going to lose his anti-siege, and now the Mangonel shouldn't be far behind it. This is problematic. The way that he played this, going that Springald, right, he got it when he didn't need it because his Mangonel was able to snipe out LucifroN's. But then when he actually needs it to hold on, it's just nowhere to be found, and he will be nowhere to be found. The Dome has struck a champion. LucifroN will open the series with a win. But folks, from what I've seen here, I can guarantee you there are plenty more glorious games to come.
Well, this is going to be a fun series, that is for sure. If that's game one, KP, we are in for an absolute cracker of a match, of a series right here. What a game. What an incredible game. The fact, I'm genuinely impressed that Beastie was able to hold on despite such dire circumstances. He lost, how many villages did he lose that game? Must have been upwards of 15 villas that he lost. Wow.
At critical point, it was 15, right? Like after that, it's just kind of like, you know, it's just breadcrumbs on the final like touch on the meal. But incredible map. Like, it gets a lot of stick because of how meaningful it can be, and I think there's still like some iterations that need to be done. But what I think is really cool about mountain clearing is this idea of like the future having closer spawn maps and what that could entail, right? And I think we got kind of a preview of how glorious that can be, especially at the highest level.
Yeah. It was that was beautiful. That was exactly what you'd expect out of these two guys at this level. And I think this is where the difference is between, say, Vortex and LucifroN versus Beastie and LucifroN. Had that been Vortex and LucifroN, Vortex waved the white flag at 3 minutes and 22 seconds away. But it is time for us, ladies and gentlemen, to dive into game number 2 of your Golden League 2 Grand Final.
There's still plenty of games to come. Remember, folks, best of 9, only early in the series, but what a banger already. LucifroN able to close out mountain clearing to take an early lead. Can Beastyqt snatch one back early? Can he do it on a Civ that I think, you know, it'd be fair to say he's like top 3 or top 4 on right now. Like, this man is no pushover on the Chinese. If he gets an opportunity to swing for that late game, that's when LucifroN's going to be sweating. So I'm expecting a lot of aggro out of the Mongols in this game.
And I'm already loving this opening from Beastie. This is exactly the opening you want to go. I actually learned this opening from B back in the day, 3DB. So essentially what's going to happen here is Beastie's now going to rally this villager onto the wood. He's going to pick up 3 wood from this, and then he's going to use that to make his lumber camp. And then that lumber camp, he's then going to send more villagers out onto that lumber camp and look to build up enough resources to get the first barracks out. And he's going to then supervise the barracks. Normally you drop down the barracks right next to the mill, so you can actually juggle your supervision. Oh, do we have a dead Khan in the base? Actually, no, it's a Chinese
no,
town.
but we have a dead build. He's not doing the one that you were talking about. He went for the mining camp instead.
He's going... What?
Wait,
okay.
wait,
Very weird.
Also, what was that route? Okay, that's a really big baited moment there. If Beastie feels like he has to wall himself off against early Mongol aggression, he's probably not going to wall this. That might become important later.
But what is Beastie doing? That for me, that's the big question. Is he just going for
fast feudal into rush dock and then archership? Probably. It's not a bad idea actually, as long as the Khan doesn't see you on the way out, and you do have the advantage in terms of vision, right? The Tang Dynasty is going to allow you to see when the Khan is nowhere nearby, so you should know when to pull a villager.
I'm curious whether, because has LucifroN spotted out the gold vein, or spotted out the mining camp on the gold vein yet? I wonder if he knows about that, and if so, does he even bother going into Iraq? He might just go straight into feudal age himself.
He saw him running over, right? Like I think the villager was clearly running over when he walked past. So while he maybe didn't see the mining camp being plopped, he should have seen the villager going there. And that's a big question mark, right? Why would a Chinese player be sending one villager out into the gold? There's only one logical explanation.
Because they want to build a lumber camp.
Because they want to get all them wheelbarrows. Yep, that's
exactly it.
We figured it out, Drongo. We're geniuses.
So far, LucifroN's doing everything right. Like he's got the early Uvu, so he's got that trickling in. He's obviously taken the water here when Beastie wasn't challenging it. Is Beastie just going 2 TC Song and ignoring the water? He could just be going 2 TC Song and ignoring water, and because.
But do you feel good about doing that?
It's still dangerous,
right?
Yeah, it's possible to do it, right?
Sure.
But then you have to wall in.
Drongo, this is the moment where we have that discussion again about how you can do things, but should you do? Like, he could swallow a sword, but should he? He's probably not trained to do that. So my thought around like the double TC build and what could be like dangerous here is, aren't you inherently forfeiting map control to a Mongol player that has every intention then of rushing castle with fish, and the knock-on effect is you're giving him all the relics, right? Oh my god, he's going dread. All right, you definitely do not do the 2 TC build now.
There's a part of me that
you still want it.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. I haven't tested enough.
It's
I
trade,
haven't tested
right?
enough to know, but I would be very comfortable going into Song 2 TC here.
Okay.
Just simply because, yeah, I still think it's fine. The only real threat that you may have is just that castle age push. Of course, you're going to forego map control. You forgo relics, probably lose sacred sites, but I think in the end you still win. The only real threat is sacred victory. But let's see exactly what Beastie does, as villagers are now on the move. He takes his vills off gold, and that looks to me like a dock coming up. That is a big dock right there.
That's a huge dock right there. Like, it's already got emplacements and it's able to shoot at land targets stronger. Now, the trade-off is that it cannot build boats unless you enter the Flying Dutchman cheat. But what a dock.
That is a big dock. Interestingly, on the stone, though, we'll ride on board now with LucifroN as the age up comes through. Now, he hasn't placed his landmark. I'm curious whether he looks to place the landmark onto the Uvu and begin trading that way. Because he's been stacking up stone. Take a look at this. He's on almost 400 stone. This... Oh, Beastie, get him. Oh, Beastie. Oh, Beastie.
Hey.
Look at that timing.
Were you looking to do something here, buddy? No. Are you a small, unpacked landmark, boy? Oh, no, you're a packed up landmark, boy.
What are the odds Beastie runs in here a second later and that landmark gets down and he's double producing traders and Beastie says, that sucks.
So, like, if side with me now, mental games. If I was Beastie, I'd be typing lol no trader, 0 trader boy, right? 0 trader boy.
Don't even try. Don't even try. Don't bother.
You're right. With our ability to count that we've shown so far, we probably get the count wrong. Yeah, 12 Trader Boy. It's going to be no Trader Boy because the walls are going up as well.
Oh, gosh. Beastie he's looking good early on so far. Keep in mind, LucifroN still has access to the water. But Beastie's doing a great job in delaying him here. We see veterancy coming through on the... Or rather, we see the horseman upgrade so that these guys aren't early anymore. But just the single horseman, going to be able to push this back. But Beastie, looking like he might just throw away the scout for the moment just to delay this. I don't know whether it's really worth it.
No, you just walk now. You're like, my job is done. Operation No Trade Boy is complete.
I'm fearful he still loses this scout, though. And in this matchup, you really want to keep that scout just to check gold.
You could play Horseman, though, right? Like, I think it's a natural play for a Chinese player to consider Horseman now. So, you know, he'll have access to a stable in that situation. He can still get a new scout. But
really? I'd just be thinking about Jukunu here.
True.
But Beastie is going to be going into that second TC, though. Now, it could either be a second TC or it could be arrow slits on that big dock that he's got. But I suspect it's probably just going to be a second TC.
I think so, yeah. The Khan is being a pain in the ass. They always are. Interesting thing, by the way, the option for Beastie to even consider like going dock wouldn't have worked out. LucifroN's tech timing was decent, and if you check over at the pond, he's had one archer ship just patrolling the whole time. So I'm glad that Beastie didn't go for that water side. It would have been suicide. It just would have put him further behind.
Yeah, I'm gonna love to have a chat with Beastie about this decision making in this game. I wish I could write this down right now, but I'm sitting too far away from the keyboard. But I guess my question is, why is he gone for the second TC here rather than looking to challenge the dock in the Dark Age? Because
too much
he had a real option. You think challenging the dock is a gamble?
Like, you kind of get sucked into the Mongol affair, and you know they're always getting this passive stone that's kind of making up the difference. Like,
True.
It is a bit of a gamble, I think. Like, so if Beastie's
especially
goal,
if he can just go straight into trade, right? Like then, yeah.
I think if Beastie's goal is like to just get past the hard early game, which is usually what you want to do as a Chinese, then that's why this makes a lot of sense, right? Like, why engage with this? He'll have to come back and engage with it again soon. Like, clearly, Beastie, you should have made Takeshi's castle in that corner. You know, onion with layers.
That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? Oh gosh, that would have been something else.
Do you know what I love is when people make it like modular? Am I the only one that wants to see a mod, by the way, where you can't see past walls? Just for that kind of comedial value of like, we've broken through. What is this? Where do we go from
that? That would be amazing. That would be wonderful to see. But we do see spears making their way onto the battlefield. And we see archers looking to accompany the enemy horsemen. So it looks like LucifroN should be able to siege down this wall. Keep in mind, he's got a couple of traders out here. Just a handful for the moment that are going to be looking to trade immediately upon this wall being shut down. He has the market in the corner already, so 163 gold. Going to be coming through here. This is the maximum amount of gold he can actually get. So this is a great trade wrap. But look at this. Oh, Beastie causing so much havoc with this scout today.
How does he keep living? The boy who lives not ready to die, clearly. Well, there's going to be a switch up. He's like, okay, if you're just going to keep doing this, we'll just safely go for deer instead. Just a bit too greedy from LucifroN. But man, Beastie's response to that trade, like, it shows you that kind of baited feeling to it, right? Like, when you see trade, you feel like you have to address it. But LucifroN was miles ahead. Archer plus Horseman. He's built enough now that not only can he defend his trade, he could even consider just breaching. Luckily for Beastie fans, he did notice that small gap on the east side of this wood line, so it has been walled off.
Yeah, I think this was largely because of the Khan getting that run through before. Had he not had that Khan run through, I suspect it would have been a different outcome, but makes it really easy for him to wall as well, because once this wall starts coming down to, say, about 50%, he can just pull another villager, bring it out here, and slowly wall that little gap up. If he's looking to do it, hold on. He's definitely not going to be doing that right now, though.
I mean, you could.
Beastie going castle, though.
Yeah, like, you could try to repair that, but then, like, your villagers would be coming home in body bags, right? The archers behind it. It's kind of like
I'd just be doing another wall right there. Yeah.
I think it's like he doesn't... If you look at his wood, you can kind of see the issue for Beastie, right? Like, he just doesn't... He's not holding on to much. He's trying to get an answer to the army. The way I always describe walling is it's like making a cheap dam, right? Like, you know, when you see a men-at-arms rush and you wall it off, it's like there's water coming and you've created a really crappy dam and it's going to hold the water back. But eventually the water's going to come through even stronger. And instead of you getting like wet feet, you and your baby are going to be washed like 10 miles downriver. right? So it's like, it's better just get a solid solution that deals with the water, right? In this situation, should we say the Chuganu are the big straw?
Get him. Slurp him up, boys. Yep. Age up coming through, though, for LucifroN. Beastie trying to age up as well, but having to make a couple of Jukunu. He's fallen behind on the resources. He's got enough to age up now, so should be clicking up any second. The clock tower does come down. Expect Beastie to look for a bit of a palace guard defense in this position, but obviously the Mongols love to play that crossbow style, so it could be a bit dangerous to do.
So, I wonder if, like, LucifroN, considering he's open with cavalry already, like, he has got the crossbow potential, but maybe you even just add in a few lancers first, you get that pick opportunity, right? Because, you know, it is Chinese, they do have hand cannon slits, sure, but it is Chinese, and they do have a lot of villages as well.
Can I just note, where is Beastie's second gold? Because there's a gold right here. Where is the next gold that he's got, though? Because
to the east? Yeah, he's going down.
Look how far away this gold is from the main starting town center compared to LucifroN's gold. Have a look at LucifroN. He's gold. I'm pretty sure he's got a step out sandwich
almost
in his base.
Oh, my OCD's kicking in. I'm annoyed. It's just one tile off. Come on.
And look at the third gold. It's like he's got amazing golds, and Beastie's over here, like having to cross the entire map just to get to his second gold. I don't know what happened with this map spawn, but it looks a little bit sad for Beastie.
But like, this is just gameplay diversity, Drongo. You need to flex to the map, flex to the game, man. Like, sure, he's got all these condensed gold mines, but if you just drop a single tower there, oh, GG. I think that's usually what Reddit tells me when I make those complaints.
Very, very true. And trade is not overpowered. No, wait, Reddit? Trade is busted. Trade is broken. That's why we see it right now in the grand finals.
Oh.
That's why we see it.
I'm just so happy that we're getting to see trade. It sounds
I'm
like
excited
I'm
to see
smiling,
trade.
but it's like I want to kill you smile.
Well, the Jukunu are looking to get their upgrades through. The veterancy on the way, but it's not being... Oh, nest of bees off the top rope. Beautiful little coverage he's got here as well. This is really nice. Able to try and keep the nest of bees alive. A single lancer is going to be the cause of its death, though. And the horseman also looking to find a surround. But beautiful splits coming through from LucifroN. He's managed to keep a lot of his units alive, despite that nest of bees doing some damage here. Chukunu, though, that's going to be the question. How much damage are they able to put out? He doesn't have the +1 attack through just yet. He's only got veterancy on these Chukunu, and he's starting to struggle.
Man, that nest of bees kind of felt like the Kremlin from last game, right? Like, this is your hopes, your dreams. Or the Maganal actually is more appropriate, right? Perfect the way that Siege, for CGQ, he's kind of like the bastion of his defense. But now the archer's moving through. That's good value, right? Getting the IO, getting a few villages here. And when they dive further past, like, consider there's no one on the backside to actually defend here, right? He hasn't got any towers up. He hasn't got any quick rally point to get these villages out of a jam. He's probably going to lose a bunch here.
He does call them to the front.
Oh,
brings out the shivs. And now he's in a little bit of trouble. He's losing a lot of villagers. It's up to double digits now, and good game gets called. LucifroN with 2 quick wins.
He ain't waiting around. LucifroN, what a weekend this is turning into. You know, Marine Lord versus Beastie being a 4-0. No one would have anticipated. Coming to this one, LucifroN looking strong, but a lot of people would have put some of their bets on Beastie, at least peeling one back by now. But LucifroN, feels like there's no stopping this man. Now already 2 games up, but plenty still to come in this best of 9.
That was a really interesting game. So Beastie went 2 TC delayed. I'd love to analyze this game a little bit more. This is definitely going to be one of the question marks. But well played by LucifroN there. Mongols coming out on top. Definitely going against what many people thought was going to be the case. That game we saw double the prediction points going to Beastie compared to LucifroN, and yet LucifroN was out in just 14 minutes.
I think LucifroN was just a step ahead, and you saw it very quickly in the transitions, right? Like it's so trivial, and it's like it almost feels irrelevant to then think back to the way he got blocked on trade. It's almost like it didn't happen in this game, right? But the cool and calm realization by LucifroN is like there's a window here now. Like he knows I'm trading or going to try to trade, so he's going to try to shut it down. So what does he do? He masses a bunch of archers, he masses a bunch of horsemen. All of a sudden, BC is going to feel tempted to shut down trade because you just have to. That's how oppressive it is. He's already one step ahead when the only play Chinese player is going to make is to build spearmen. I think that spearman choice by Beastie is really what gave LucifroN control to then follow up with the like coup de grace, the following steps, right? But the real tell, and I believe it is about time to get into our 3rd game of the grand finals. LucifroN finds himself leading by 2 already. Can Beastie turn it around as we hop into a pit?
Well, if there's any pit you want to be hopping into, it is this one, because this is where the action is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 3. This is your Golden League 2 Grand Finals. It's a best of 9, and we got 2 of the best players in the world who we decided to put in a pit and say, hey, you guys, please hurt each other very badly. And that's exactly what they've been doing all day.
Yeah, we threw a knife in the center. We said, fight! And then they decided to craft their own knives and then build their own settlements to recruit an army, because that's the way Age of Empires works, unfortunately. You don't just get 2 people barreling at each other with a knife. They have to build an army. And, well, both of them can build that army in the early game. We mentioned, like, the Mongols usually have that earlier kind of tempo aggression, but we've noticed the Ottomans are no pushover, whether it's dark or feudal age aggression. Expect any punch that Beastie gets thrown in this early game to be matched or even exceeded by what the Ottomans can do with their aggro play.
Ottomans are a civilization that have been increasingly moving up the rankings on tier lists all over the world. I've seen from tier lists A to tier list Z. They are, like, the Ottomans are a civilization that is just popping off at the moment. And I think this is largely because of there was, in Season 4, initially when it happened, people were focusing on Castle Age, getting up quickly. There seems to be a bit more of an emphasis on the feudal age now. The people playing protracted, longer games in the feudal age, and that's where the Ottomans just do so well. Obviously, Beastie, he'll be looking or happy to play in the feudal age for a short amount of time, but the Ottomans, you don't really want to be staying there with them.
No, and the funny part is, like, how the Ottoman meta, not the unit, evolved, right? Like, we started off with this archer mass with a meta buffing them up. It's like, how do you stop it? And then players like, maybe we need more of a ceiling. So they went for these Castle Age rush builds. And then they kind of came full circle, like, well, actually, feudal's still really good. We just weren't building Saparti actively. We were only, like, building them out of military schools passively. So now that players have started to kind of diversify their builds, imams included as well, they've realized that the Ottomans aren't this kind of cheesy one-punch man. They're actually a very versatile tool. They're kind of a Swiss knife, if you will, when it comes to feudal age.
An Ottoman knife, perhaps.
Oh, an Otto-Swiss knife? I don't think they ever conquered that deep, but if Vienna had fallen, maybe.
Perhaps. What could have been. But we do see the first of the spearmen making their way out across the map. And it looks like we've got an uncontested Uvu just sitting here, which is wonderful. You know, I loved playing the Chinese into this matchup, the Mongols, because you'd open with spears, and no matter what you find, you're always going to be happy. Unless they get one of those annoying spawns where they get gold and stone underneath the town center. It's unlikely that you're going to be coming up empty-handed, and that's exactly the case here. LucifroN is going to be pretty happy with this opening and such a forward-facing Uvu.
Yeah, and it forces Beastie to do something, right? Like, right now, LucifroN just gets to be there with this very long stick, poking the corpse, going, do something. And it means that Beastie's probably going to have to open archers. You don't want to, though, right? Like, any time I see a player having to build archers against Ottomans right now, I kind of feel like they've forced you to, and you know it's their edge, right? Because we've seen what that attack speed and that movement speed can do, and how easy it is for Ottomans to just boom up multiple archery ranges.
Yeah, but it does take some time for them to get going, and I think there's definitely a window here where Beastie can look to take advantage of the silver tree, look to take advantage of his trade, and get out some decent numbers here before the attack hits. Because normally you find it hitting around that 10-minute mark. But yeah. I suspect he could probably look to get out a couple of traders here and exploit that window.
Yeah, and, you know, LucifroN, let's say he does go for that typical opening, spears into archers. You don't necessarily have the chase down. You're going to probably wait longer to go and intercept the trade. We do know that archers are basically the best unit once you're in position to snipe traders. But it's all about that positioning. Like, when you think about the archer mass, it has to be big enough. It kind of is reminiscent of when English longbow players would try for the aggro, right? And you saw how hesitant they were to go beyond the shortest side of their opponent's base, the one that was closer to their own. Because the moment you do that, you're cut off, right? There's no retreat. Your opponent could come in behind you and wipe you. We're going to get this the revenge of LucifroN here.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think, if anything, Beastie's actually trying to draw those spears over towards this landmark because he doesn't want to lose the Uvu, and which is very smart by Beastie to do that. But LucifroN not taking the bait just yet, just preventing it from unpacking for the moment. So exactly what he needs to be doing. But now 3 spears going to be looking to come out towards this Uvu. The archery range is down. A single archer on the way out. He might need to pull a villager to repair, just because it is slowly but steadily trickling that health down. He's sitting at about, what, 45%, 40% maybe?
I'm not sure who's griefing who here, right? Because it's like, sure, you can't deploy your silver tree, but imagine if that scout was attacking the Uvu. If he's attacking the Uvu, you kill it, right? Like, there's no doubt about it. But now, instead, you just get it close on fire. You are going to at least force a villager to be pulled, but realistically, Beastie didn't even need to do this. He could have just played a very risky game and not idled any villagers at all.
Yep, that's exactly it. I think pulling the silver tree was incredibly smart. Obviously, it was just, obviously he was going to pull the silver tree because he wants to put it on the Uvu anyway, but just pulling it out there was really, really good to see. But it does buy LucifroN a bit of time, and this is one thing to note. Beastie, I'm curious whether he's got any traders in production just yet. We'll take a look down on the south side of the map and see exactly what he's got in the plans, but my suspicion is he's going to have plenty of them on the way, and indeed, double production.
And check this from LucifroN. He's like, well, we know what the typical Ottoman script is here, but I'm not going to play to it. Instead, he's going into Sipahi first. Cool thing about this, you mentioned that timing you have when the archer mass isn't big enough to do enough. You have to wait around 10.
Yep.
Just a few Sipahi, they don't have to wait for anyone, right? Because no one can catch them that stupidly fast. And whew, nice snipe on the scout there by Beastie. If we check LucifroN's vision, he's very limited. He's not necessarily going to know where these traders are and when they're moving.
Yeah, good call. Market already established on that south side, though, which means that Beastie has got his full length of the map trade coming through. But have a look at this already. We've got a little bit of a camp getting set up down on that south side by LucifroN. Now, obviously no scout nearby, but he doesn't really need a scout. He knows the traders are going to be coming through this area.
Exactly, but like it feels really good when you're able to get that first interception, right? Block them instantly. Instead of being in a situation where you're just sitting here, you're sitting here, you're sitting here. It feels better if you're able to just go towards an objective always, right? Like I'm always reminded of French knights as an example. You could sit a French knight on the enemy's gold vein and they won't come there, or you could run it around looking for targets constantly, which is better.
Yeah, and one of the things to note that Beastie has done before, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does this, runs a villager to that northern corner of the map and puts a market down there as well.
That's a really cool idea, actually. Especially considering right now LucifroN's only playing eastern flank. He has zero information. Yep. And the worst thing was, like, whenever you want to go north, you're going to run past the Uvu area, and if your opponent builds a racks, you'll no longer feel safe in that area at all.
Yeah, and obviously having lost the scout, it means he's got a lot less information that he can gather. Without that scout, he can obviously rebuild a scout, and we see him actually building it now, but that is an opportunity cost.
Yeah. Of course, he has the stables, right? So it doesn't hurt as much. Obviously, there's still the price, 70 food. There's no joke at this stage. But it's not one of those, I only have a TC and I don't want to be blind anymore, so I'm going to sacrifice a villager to make sure I'm not. And hello.
Yeah.
Are we... We shouldn't be running deeper. There we go. He's going to find him.
Yeah, he manages to find it. Now, remember that the Ottoman traders are cheaper than your standard trader. Everyone normally has to pay... Sorry, yes, the Mongol ones. Yes, Mongol ones are cheaper.
You had me worried for a sec there. I was like, bloody hell. LucifroN's got trade as well. Oof, game's over. Oh, man, this micro is so
good. With the Abbasid, everybody else is going to pay 60-60, but Beasties are a little bit cheaper. But yeah, you're on point. Was that? Did we see the meta go down just then? Or was
no, that was one of the Sipahi, but he killed 2 archers. Beastie, it was a bit of a weird play there. Like, I think he maybe had Spearman further away and he was clicking them all together. But the archers came out too early, so he lost 2 archers, he lost 2 traders, and he killed 1 Sipahi. Really great exchange for LucifroN, like big up there.
All right, well, it looks like Beastie's just going to be sticking it out in feudal for the moment. We don't see any indication that he's going towards the castle age. Starting to stack up quite a few archers together with the spears. How many traders was he got sitting? Are we able to ride on board with his perspective and check that market on the south side?
He's got 5. 6, actually. 6 now.
Are you just counting them on the minimap?
Yeah.
That's you are good at counting.
I don't know
why. Where did you learn to do that?
My fingers and my thumbs. They really help
All
the
right,
process.
Well, can you count how many spears were just lost by Beastie? Because numbers aren't looking the best for him now, and pressure being put on the front side. LucifroN looking to really start dishing out the damage here.
Oh man, and that outpost was the heavy investment early on, especially the arrow slits on top of it. You know, you think about that, like, could that have been an extra double unit production? LucifroN's just kind of playing on Beastie's insecurity around the map, right? Because he's gone for this static comp, and he doesn't have Yam, remember, because he got the silver tree. So he's not able to kind of knee-jerk react on the flanks as easily as LucifroN is. That's a big difference, by the way. Not just the attack speed in this game, Okay,
Oh.
it's gone now, but the movement speed
Oh.
and attack speed, two things that Beastie doesn't have an answer to in Feudal Age.
Such a needless loss when that meta goes down. Really unfortunate there for LucifroN, but this is exactly what Beastie needs to get into the game. Might seem like a small detail, but it does start to add up.
Oh, he saves the outpost
and
as
definitely,
well.
yeah. There are some things going well for Beastie in this game, and I'm not going to pick sides to cheer, but I am going to say I want a best of 9, and I want to see 9 games.
More
So
games. So you're saying you're a Beastie fan?
I'm a Beastie fan. For this game, I'm a Beastie fan. And to be honest, I'm pretty much always a Beastie fan. He's an incredibly good player. I think I've got a really similar style to Beastie. And that the problem is Beastie's great at it, and I'm terrible at it. And the style where you make as little units as possible and try and survive with it. And Beastie's really good at that. He just knows exactly when to hold them. But for me, unfortunately, I am folding him all the time.
It's like wearing the mask of being a greedy piece of crap, and then like as soon as someone like comes in to slap you for being greedy, you like pull the mask off, and it's actually like your total aggro, right? That's the kind of feeling you get with Beastie. We've seen it time and time again. People describe him as like this oppressive player who loves his late game. Oh, he's a sicko. He must just want those hour-long games. And I've talked to Alex, and he's like, you know what? People think of that of me, but that's not me, and I use that to my advantage. The reason why I do that is because you let me, right? He's an advantage player. That's how I would describe him. I've talked about other players being this way. They see you do something, and they're going to look for the most optimal play. They're not going to play a comfortable style to them. But there's no denying that with the amount of hour-plus long games Beastie's played, it has become his comfort zone. There's not many players that can boast as many late-game scenarios as Beastie.
Yeah, definitely the case. But we've got ourselves a little bit of an interesting development down here on the south corner. Traders have been taken out. Beastie still holds a solid economic lead here. But yeah, interestingly, looks like he's going to be losing out on a couple of the outposts. There's also the market down there that if it does go down, it's going to take some time for Beastie to rebuild. So he may have to head back to the drawing board on his trade.
Once again, it's just this idea of a difference that you can't overcome as Beastie. The movement speed. It's so frustrating because, you know, Beastie, he's been in a position, I think, like 2 times now where he wants a fight. He's like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just duke it out. My army's like a little bit stronger, X or Y point. But LucifroN every time just shakes his head. And this is like the downside to trade, right? Is when your opponent gets this position, he can force those bad engagements. He can choose when to just kind of mess with you. And he can mess with you in multiple locations on a map like Pit.
All right, well, the attack speed arrow has gone off the meta. Going to go down again. Oh, my lord, it gets away with just a squidge of health. I spoke too soon.
Bury him, honor him, and then forget him and build another one. It's kind of die, rinse, repeat, right? There is a lead now building for Beastie, though. You're seeing it, right? Like military count-wise, he's pulling ahead. Sipahi are a bit of a premium unit, but that doesn't remain the case when you no longer have that attack speed aura, especially if Beastie has an absurd amount of spears.
Yeah, that's exactly it. One thing I'd call attention to right now is the fact that we're seeing a wall coming up for LucifroN across that top side. So LucifroN's got really solid control on the bottom side of the map. The only issue is that there is an open potential on this flank, and he's covering it perfectly. Now able to take out the market. He had the opportunity to take this market out plenty of times beforehand, but I don't think he was ever really in a position to get those walls down until now. Now he's decided it is go time. He's happy with it. So where does he go from here? And it looks like the answer is going to be Castle Age.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how LucifroN, like, he's kind of kept somewhat close in the military numbers, and yet he's this close to Castle Age. Obviously, we can see a difference building now, but if you think about the way that this kind of just suddenly escalated, it's really impressive. Beastie's not too far behind, mind you. He's stopping off for a few extra techs along the way. I expect his tech up to probably be rushed by more villagers, as he has a supplement eco with those traders. Like, I mean, I think he's probably going to get like half trade now, right, to the silver tree. But that means he can afford more, and you can see it there. 16 compared to the 8. Beastie's going to get to Castle Age first.
Yeah, and interestingly goes for the Step Redoubt. Doesn't look for the Coral type.
I
don't know about you, KP, but I've been finding a lot of people opting for the Coral tie in my my ranked ladder games recently. Step Redoubt somewhat fallen out of favor there, but at the pro level, it seems that the Step Redoubt's still very, very strong.
I think Kurotai is really good when you're expecting to be punished for attack up. Because you have the healing and the damage buff on the defensive. It kind of makes you feel like the English in some ways, if that makes sense, right? Where it's like,
yeah,
you know, I'm kind of impenetrable. You have to try just like twice as hard to get in. Even more beneficial when you use it around choke points with all your other buildings, especially if your opponent's relying on melee. So I understand the Kurultai choice. I just think the classic notion is like if you go Silver Tree, you can go Kurultai, and I disagree with that. You can see why in this game. Like you have a Silver Tree, but your trade isn't free, right? So you might need a backup gold source.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. He doesn't have uncontested trade, so he's going to need to get gold from somewhere, and you might as well have 50% more gold. Makes sense.
It looks like it's time to start hoovering up relics.
Indeed, that time of the game. But veterans are going to be coming through for Beastie. I'm curious what kind of unit compositions we see through from these guys, and whether they look to stick to archers, or whether they move into something more orientated around, say, crossbows.
LucifroN's going to be forced to go crossbows. Like, look at the comp and what's being built in. They're, of course, both adding heavy cavalry, but Beastie's already jumping straight into men-at-arms. There is going to be a window where you can punish, though. If he hides this up until, like, 10 or 12, you get that classic, me have men-at-arms, you have no counter moment. And that could force a lot of idle time while still booming the trade behind it.
Interestingly, we see both players looking to pick up a large number of knights. So LucifroN with 3 in queue, Beastie with 3 in queue as well. So he is... he's having a pretty decent game, but 14 traders on the market. How much gold is he picking up on each of these runs?
Like,
let's take a look and see.
I want to say like 87 to 90-ish, maybe?
I reckon it's probably less than that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, God. I keep having 51. High expectations. I don't know why. It looked like it was 2/3 of the map, but I guess it's closer to half.
A lot of people often forget that trade is not linear, and that 87 occurs at, like, 85%.
Yeah.
Whereas like 160 occurs at 100% of the maximum route. It's
crazy
really strange how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It makes such a difference.
Hear me out. Linear, and then if I make a maze, I get more money.
I do like that. It shouldn't be as the bird flies, but rather as the trader trades.
Dude, like, I mean, I could already see it. I do it, and I, like, type in the chat, "Welcome to Takeshi's Castle." I always love Takeshi's Castle with that kind of, like, annotation. That'd be the best thing ever. It'd be broken. Don't do it. Don't do it, Relic, please. It's in need of a revamp, though. I think most people acknowledge it. I'm still a big fan of a trade-off where, like, if your traders die, the opponent gets some resources. Like, so that way... You know, it's still strong.
That's very dangerous, though.
Yeah, but it's high risk, high reward, right? Is that not the way it should be?
I feel like there are other ways to mitigate it. Like, just put the markets in the middle of the map,
sure.
and then that's, you know, problem solved. But a bit of an interesting build-up happening right now. Beastie should be aware that there is an imminent mangonel, right? Like, you're playing against the Ottomans, you give them 2 minutes, they're going to need to roll it over to your base, but you can always count on that fact. There needs to be a Springald coming out from Beastie shortly, because the first mangonel has hit the blocks. He's got his front wheel off the ground, but I suspect he's on his way to a victory.
I think maybe he's going for Siege Engineering Improved. Like, he's holding onto a lot of stone right now. So
he is, yeah.
That could be the option.
There's the Springald.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so you built a Siege Workshop. That's fine. I was going to say, like, the issue of going Siege Engineering here, though, is, like, you're defending, right? So if your opponent sees you doing it, he's just going to punish you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, numbers still looking good for both players. 71 against 68. Military pop's actually identical because we've got the 3 siege on LucifroN's side. So despite the 18 economic pop difference, the military numbers are still pretty damn even. Even the army value. Look at the army value right now. Less than 10 between them. And we've got ourselves a bit of a face-off, KP.
Yeah, it's just probing right now. I think Beastie's just trying to see what he can yoink while essentially giving away the forward production buildings. The Spy starting to probe.
Right, well,
Mango. Heavy hit in. Good shot there. And that's going to be attack speed arrow coming out. So right now, Beastie has more firepower, and it looks like LucifroN might need to back away. That's going to sacrifice a lot of the archers. Mango will be protected, but Archer Mass is melting in the face of all this damage.
This front line from Beastie is insane, the amount of power that he's got here. Look at how the men-at-arms together with the knights are holding on for dear life. The Springald just doing an incredible job, and Beastie crushing through LucifroN's army. I think we might be heading to a game number 4 shortly, because LucifroN is on the tail right now, trying his best to keep himself in the game, but Beastie just looking incredible here.
I mean, that was just brute forced right there. LucifroN probably felt confident about the one Mango. I love the fact that Beastie did not hesitate to commit at that point. We have to remember, he added in men-at-arms. LucifroN didn't. He's relying just on Sepahi. Sure, they're somewhat meaty, but they're nowhere near as chunky as what your opponent is pushing out. Just a great read on that fight by Beastyqt. You notice how he spread out his line, right? He put LucifroN in this awkward situation where he couldn't hold, he couldn't protect the siege, so his only option is to turn, tail, and run. And the moment you do that, we know how formations work. It puts your squishy underbelly the last to retreat. Your archers, the moment you click back towards your base from there, they're the ones that are getting nibbled at the heels of.
Yeah, and now we see a sacrificial spy here, just to double check that those units are still in the same spot that they were 25
Mongol
seconds ago,
tribute.
indeed.
You know, if you play the
Yes.
campaign, you've got to pay them off.
Really? Do you?
I mean, that should be an option, right? Like, you guys try it. Like, I've explained it before. People, you know, when you're like, I can't win my games, like, you got to leverage the chat element more. Negotiate. Be like, if I give you, like, 400 gold, will you leave me alone for 2 minutes? If they say deal and you lose still because they dishonor the agreement, take map 3. He resecured the trade. He boomed up. Mongols looking unstoppable in this series.
So I think that was just a case of seeing how many traders your enemies got,
Yeah.
and then just realizing the game is over. That's a stark difference right here. Are we going to see it? Well, I'm thinking, oh, I'm all good. I've got 74 vills. Meanwhile, Beastie up on 115.
It's also like he ran into Spiral Towers, right? So then he's also aware, not only is this trade big, but I actually can't dive it with my small little retinues of cavalry. So, you know, I'm glad he didn't waste any more time on it. Does mean that Beastie gets on the board. Took 3 games in, but have some fun late game. We've seen it before from people like Sort of and State. Let's see if we get it again. We're heading in to Beastie versus LucifroN, game number 4. It is an Abbasid mirror. Put your monocles on, rotate them 25 degrees, and then squint at the screen because we're going to see small differences leading into big results as this game goes on.
All right, well, already there's a huge difference as LucifroN's got 7 villagers on sheep and Beastie's only got 6. So he's either deleted a village. Oh, no, never
He's
mind.
deleted
He's just making his...
Whoa! Wait.
He's just making his House of Wisdom.
Oh, but look at
Never
these
mind.
mining camps. Like, is it me or is Beastie's further off, or is it just the deception of the map? His is further off, right?
I'm going to wait until our astute observer.
What? Gold spawns are
It
wild.
does look pretty
dude.
far on the mini map.
It's like an extra tile.
Can we click on the TC and go into Beastie's perspective, and we should be able to see
By vision,
the range
yeah.
of the TC intersecting the mining camp. Then we'll go do the same for LucifroN.
This
So
is what you
you can
get,
see
guys,
it's
in a
in-
mirror.
It is intersecting through the center. We go compare that to LucifroN's, and it will be doing the same, I suspect. So I think... Oh my god, no, it's not.
No.
Okay.
It's like... It's just wild.
So this is a point that I've brought up to the developers a lot recently, but I just don't understand how such an important part of a map is still not just like a standard thing
Well,
to be set in stone.
I don't understand how it didn't get fixed when they decided to put gold veins further away. Like, you've noticed that as well, right? Like, I feel like gold veins were almost always on the edge, if not under TC's protection. And now,
Yeah.
it's like 8 out of 10 gold veins I see are not protected by a town center. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. It's those 2 that get you. I mean, that's the reason. So with the English, I always used to do men-at-arms openings with the English, but I've just played one. It's a trade wing. It's a trade wing. It's the trade wing. It's actually happening.
But wait.
It's the meme. It's all over again.
But is it coming the other way?
Is he going to cancel it? Please tell me
It's an eco wing. Yep. Okay.
Eco wing. This is it. Okay, we got ourselves an actual game, KP. Get excited, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll resume
You're
the
not going to
podcast
see
later.
7 town centers mirrored. Yeah, we'll get back to the podcast later. We will investigate the source of the gold conundrum. But until then, it's time to get your trade on.
But where are you going to trade? You have to have to walk out, right, and build a marketplace. There's no way. Because here's the thing, like, it's such a gamble with the way that Lipany spawns the trade posts to trade with your opponents. Even more so if you consider that, like, out of the 2 players that could do this, LucifroN's the one that shouldn't if he wants to trade with his opponents. Because look at where Beastie's neutral trade post is. Like, we talked about how bad the gold spawn is. Can we talk about the other elements of these spawns? Like, Beastie has got the turtliest of turtle spawns here.
He does, and he's also got 1 less relic. In fact, both players have got 1 less relic than what a normal map would have. This is what I like to call a 4 relic map rather than a 5 relic map. So I don't know where that 5th relic's gone to. One of the things that LucifroN can look to do here, if we take a look in the east corner of the map, you will see that there's a nice little hidey hole for a single market. So he can just put that market in. Yeah, right over here. Don't. Yep. No, you're right.
The right side. Like, he's
corner.
right. That's the.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at this.
Yeah, so he should be able to put a market in right there, and then wall off on the southern part of that forest, and then wall a little bit further up.
But then, like, here's the stupidity. Check the other corner. Like, the other corner doesn't have that space, by the looks of it. I think it's like, just you need to chop down some trees.
Is he putting the market down?
Oh, man. Like, come on, dude. Like, I would say scammed right now.
Let's go game 5. This is a scam. Oh, LucifroN got so scammed, dude.
Oh, man. He bought into the pyramid schemes. I'm telling you, like, unfortunate for him. And now Beastie's like, well, my plan isn't as map reliant here. I'm just going to go for your standard, let me build TCs. And LucifroN, at this distance, I mean, what's he really going to get here? 70? Not even 70. Well, 70 total.
Nowhere near.
Oh, God.
59.
Yeah, but you got the food as well, right? So it's like, you give him that round up, 73 total. It's not bad. And it is past that threshold I talked about if you want a fast castle. Because you're getting 73 resources, so you're getting over 200 from the free traders. And with preservation and knowledge researched, a culture wing, if you're going fast castle, would only save you less than 200.
This is true. All right, well...
I really hope he's going fast castle.
It's a sad state of affairs right now for LucifroN as a trade enjoyer. Can we take a look from LucifroN's perspective just to see exactly what he's got in queue? And yeah, it looks like he might be playing the Donati style. So this style was popularized and pioneered by a guy by the name of Donati. You may have heard of him. Quite the look at this. Yeah, this is what we're talking about.
Optimize. Best you can get. This isn't fitting to the Donati style, by the way, Drongo. I know what you're talking about. Donati would have been building all horsemen. He would have been in the opponent's base and building outposts for the bastards already. Shout out to Yachty. Look forward to seeing more in the future.
Is he here? Is he here? Where is he? Where is that madman? I don't even see him in the chat.
Like when you summon him, does he not appear? I think that's how it works.
It's meant to work like that, but they fixed it last season. But yeah, market is going down. So getting a bit better of a market. What do you think the difference is between these two? So going from, what was it, 59 on the first one compared to this one?
Like an extra, I want to say an extra 15.
Yeah, I'd be going about that. That seems about right. About 74, 75, I think.
Like, well, because he gets extra food as well. Maybe so like maybe a total of 20 to 24, I reckon.
Yeah. It's not the worst, but it's still
he's
still
going
pretty bad.
Full in on it as well, which I don't mind considering he scouted that BC's doing multi-TC. But there's like I still
he hasn't.
Oh.
He didn't change the home market yet. He needs to switch up the home market.
Oops. It's okay, he's got time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you can go full in on this, especially when you spot what Beastie's doing. But the thing is, Beastie's gathered 280 gold, or 280 stone, and he's just stopped. So he's not going into 3 TC, 4 TC, 5 TC, 6 TC. It's just 2 TC, which is kind of scary, right? Because that's someone who's very much out of the blocks immediately.
Yeah, he has a good aggro point and a quicker castle option as well. Like, you have to consider the multiple elements here. It's not just the TC that's cheaper, it's the houses that come alongside it. Yeah, he's obviously not going to need farms too early, but the savings on houses alone, it just gives you that edge to push 2 or 3 extra units early on. And you can see BC starting to leverage that. Spearman plus Horseman coming. LucifroN is prepping the archers, though, and he will have the defensive advantage.
All right, it looks like he has changed the default trade
that was
or home market. So
was that more
89? Yeah, so yeah, quite a bit. Wow, quite a bit more than that.
You say it was 89. It was 59. So you got an extra 30. Like, check that distance. Go back to it and see. Like, you wouldn't think it, right?
It's tiny. That's the importance of maximizing your trade and just making sure it's always as far away as possible. And we've got traders just hugged up against the edge of the wall for now. There are attacks all over this map.
I would like to see LucifroN wall near that marketplace. Like, it's been scouted and he knows it now. That's a gap. That's an exposure point. And you know Beastie's running horsemen. Just taking that small area and walling it would funnel him on the other side, where you going for slower moving units, you wouldn't be at a disadvantage as much.
Well, you asked for it, and walls are now going down, but we've got more action in the middle of the map as spear numbers starting to build up for Beasties, up to 5 spears now. A couple more spears going to be helping out with the traders on the back line, and there's that wall that we were talking about. So that's going to come in, and where does he go from here? I mean, it's not the easiest trade line to wall over on this west corner.
Unless you want to come further forward. Like, you can kind of manipulate the cliffside a little bit, but yeah, you can see the giant open battlefield. And also, the villages... Oh, no! They ran south instead of north!
Why didn't they just go around that top side? How many vills was that? Was that 2 vills, or was it just...
That was 2, and now LucifroN's going to need a 2-pay, because I'd be going a bit bored after that. I'd be frustrated with that path in there. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's frustrating. It's kind of funny how the AI determines exactly where the villagers will walk, but I reckon that would have been very close to a coin flip.
I think
it's what way they were going.
Like, if you think about the fact that it has to arc around the wood line compared to, like, if from the TC starting point, it does make sense why it went south. LucifroN's going to be kicking himself that he didn't just simply waypoint first and then wall up, because I think he would have got that wall up and probably kept both villages alive.
Yeah, I think so as well. But he moves on, and Beastie still yet to pick up any additional stone. So he's just going to be sitting on the 2 TC, and look at this additional production coming through. Beastie looking to commit heavily to stopping the trade. Does not want to allow the trade to take off. We're right on board over on the north-hand side now on LucifroN's perspective, as more attacks do come through.
Love this.
He is under pressure on that north side.
I love this from Beastie. Like, it's one camel archer, and it should just remain one. He's noticed LucifroN's not built many archers, and he's relying heavily on spears, which get bonus damage against them from camel archers, but also horsemen. Horsemen that are going to have their damage negated by the aura of the camels. Just a great read. And now, because he's seeing a lack of archers, you're noticing him starting to add more. By the time he reveals this camel archer play, he might have 4 or 5. Oh
Beautiful
my God,
little blocks coming through. He actually blocks the traders completely. They can't get through. Beastie with beautiful body blocks right now.
Stop hitting yourself.
A couple of units going to be coming down to the rescue. I don't think he can actually retreat from that position, can he? Because if he does, he loses the gold.
So he got walled in, so it looks like the Beastie's going to have to fight now. But that was definition of stop hitting yourself. They were just running into the spears. Oh, and the long wall's coming in from LucifroN now. Wait, please tell me he knows about that cliff.
Oh yeah, there's a little cutaway through that cliff.
I think there's 2
Beastie doing a pretty decent job of yeah, I think you might be right. He's doing a decent job of dealing with the trade at the moment, keeping it down.
Meanwhile, north side is just a pokey stick mosh pit. Looks like it's going to be a good exchange for LucifroN, though. Curious if both players did get their hands on phalanx. That could be important, but it looks like Beastie's moving away from spears entirely. He's just going complete cav comp.
Yeah, interesting to see in this matchup someone going a full cavalry composition. Normally you do see that spear archer tending to be what they move towards, just because it is quite strong once feudal age comes around. But for the moment, yeah, Beastie's numbers starting to look good.
It's getting better and better because LucifroN just got the bad news. So now he has to add in archers when he's down to 2. This is the big window. You're relying on this trade, and you can't really stop it from being blocked out. There's enough horsemen here to just kind of protect the camel archers. Remember what I said, like, if you're not tucking these camels, you just lost 20% of your damage. But what a play by Lucy. He gets immediately around the side, takes out both the camel archers, and all of a sudden, Beastie has to go back to just poking and probing. He can't take the straight fight anymore.
Well, speaking of phalanx, we do see the upgrade now coming through. LucifroN looking to pick it up, and have a look at all the traders that LucifroN's managed to build. How many is he sitting on at the moment? He's only up 5 economic units, but remember that a lot of those are going to be traders. And now Beastie,
10?
he's throwing away units
God.
here, up to 17 total traders. So that is some decent trade numbers.
Has he built 3 marketplaces at the neutral trade?
Yep, there's
right.
a lot.
We ain't slowing down, folks. No brakes on the trade train. Good lord.
And keep in mind, he's actually lost 9 economic units so far, and he's still up by 5 vills. So he's doing a decent job despite the aggression being put out by Beastie to keep ahead in the economy.
And there's the phalanx coming through. This is a really big deal. It just means that, like, that immediate clash, you're now at a big disadvantage. Beastie has to go back for archers. This is breaking the mantra he was living by here, right? raid and don't get caught. That was the idea of these four-legged units. Now he has to play a bit slower, and he's also going to be prevented from going as deep as he wants to. These walls are now going up. I do still see an issue with LucifroN's defense scheme, though. There's a gap. It's almost like I'm watching the movie 300, because they could just go around.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes just yet. This is very, very unfortunate. But it looks like Beastie not going to be able to exploit it just yet. Instead, going to be turning his attention to the top side. We'll see whether he can spot any holes. For the moment, no one really looking towards Castle Age. Everybody just going to be expending resources on units for the moment. Really want to focus on Feudal and establishing their presence. Spears on the north, looking to come in and save a trader. Not able to do it, though. Trader 1 goes down.
That's a good spot.
Couple more in here.
Yeah, he's just going to peel, because now it's like, okay, you only got this many spearmen here. I can chase different targets. Horseman finally going to react, but LucifroN is not having an easy time of it. The good news for him is, like, Beastie doesn't have a nefarious ulterior motive behind this, right? He's not teching up, for example. He's investing just as much into feudal aggression.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And Beastie's putting on a pretty decent show here trying to deal with the trade. I think the problem is that the trade route being so short, there's nowhere to hit it from. You know, he's been shut down over on that south side, but where does he go from here? I guess he could always look to bring a villager or two up and chop through, and then even wall out the trade. That could be an option for him. But that requires a lot of APM, a lot of forethought as well.
He's getting rams.
Ooh.
This is a cool idea. So rams, remember, they get bonus damage against the walls, so it's not going to take him long to breach. Right now, I think LucifroN did scout that, though, so he should be able to anticipate this and react accordingly. Beastie is now coming with phalanx of his own. I'm looking at these comps, and I'm seeing one where, you know, if you can't open the field a bit, I would favor LucifroN's. Like, Beastie has a lot of horsemen, but where they really shine is when they have an open field to clash on. Right now, that doesn't exist, right, due to these walls.
Yeah, very much the case. Interestingly, we don't see any further camels coming out from Beastie. It was just the one camel on the field at the moment. Beastie lost quite a few on the way in, but now just returning back to that primary tri-comp that we see in the feudal age. Horsemen, archers, spearmen.
Beastie still has that kind of X factor of the camel archer. Needs to be careful where he positions it in these fights, but he's negating that initial clash, making sure he has a slight edge over LucifroN. But LucifroN edging ahead now in count. Military, eco, looking a bit better for him. Starting to gain momentum. As Beastie trickles in reinforcements, he might be forced to leave a bunch of the infantry behind.
The archers have done a pretty decent job here cleaning up all of these spears. And LucifroN takes the military unit lead, up about 15 military units at the moment. And still going to be climbing as he takes out even more horsemen up towards his top side.
Absolute pain in the ass. Keeps finding a way in. This is classic Beastie. If you leave your flanks exposed, he's going to dance down the sides. We know he loved this style of playing. Well, we find out what that ram was up to after all. It's not going to break through the center of the wall. It's actually going to stretch LucifroN again. Left and right. I just love this. This is clinical Beastie.
And now we see the battering ram able to make its way back through here. Keep in mind, if the market does go down, there is a secondary market that's available, but it's going to take some time before... Yeah, but yeah, and that's exactly right. But he is moving down there. There's a huge blob of units coming down. I suspect it's probably going to be able to take out the first of the markets.
Yeah, but remember what's coming
behind this. We're just
got to avoid Drongo. There's something very important happening. Yeah, and
military wing in particular.
That's a huge deal here. Remember, there's no way that Beastie can accelerate his own tech up. And you know what comes next, right? Military wing boot camp. You will not be able to fight if you're Beastie. You're already behind on military count. You're already struggling to keep up with the power that trade gives you in terms of eco. How do you really contest this from behind by easily 2+ minutes?
The big thing for me is the fact that both of them are heavily favored or heavily into archers at this point. And there's, obviously with military wing, there's composite bows, +2 veterancy. So many upgrades you can get. They all hit that same timing. And as you mentioned, you've got a minute's difference between these two guys and their age up. Take a look at that. We've got LucifroN with 20 seconds left in 3, 2, 1. There it is, and Beastie with 1:20 left.
Yeah, it's a great sniff out by Beastie to quickly let him pivot and get all the resources together. I was worried he was going to lag behind further. There is still a small window, but here's the cool thing about like tech up dynamics. LucifroN doesn't realize he has a minute's edge right now. He might think it's bigger. Because he doesn't want to gamble, he's not going to rush out to the mid-map right now, right? He's going to wait for his techs. This means that he's not going to be in a position to punish Beastie for being weaker. right? Instead, Beastie's going to get a little bit of breathing room, and although he's outmassed, he won't necessarily be out-qualitied when they fight.
Well, we see now the veterancy upgrades are coming through. Just the basic upgrades for now. Veteran spear, veteran archers, and veteran horsemen.
Bit of everything.
That's it. Nothing too fancy, but boot camp finally coming in now. So expect to see more of those unique upgrades coming through shortly.
You see what I mean about, like, you can't be behind long in the Abbasid mirror, right? Like, look how quick it takes. Yeah. It's 30 seconds, right? And, I mean, you know, it's the type of thing that also, it's reminiscent of what I remember Beastie said in cast about the idea of, like, royal bloodlines and how him and every player, they don't know you have royal bloodlines until they've taken a fight, and then they realize. It's the same thing. Wait, are we still...
Oh, we've got a trade highway over there. And, so he's yet to trade or change his tradings. So they're not on the most optimal trading route, which means that he loses a lot of his effective economic power.
Raids on the side. Great Wall of Beastie is not going to last long in this game. This isn't the Chinese after all. Rams are being built, so Beastie's trying to make a play elsewhere on the flanks again, I believe. Mangonel's being built in his base. A little bit exposed, but remember that is mass spears, so not easy to breach in. But LucifroN, he's going to try to brute force this. They've actually paused the Mangonel. It's finally going to come out. And Lucy quick on the peel.
My God. What a beautiful split there by LucifroN. Just splits the middle. Doesn't even care about the Mangonel. And look at the Mangonel. Irrelevant in this fight. Does damage to 3 archers. He completely rips apart the army. Pretty decent hit there off the top rope. Wasn't too bad, but the Mangonel is going to be going down, and Beastie is suffering in this 4th game in the series.
This, we're not quite a GG territory, but we're really not far off. LucifroN is in a position where he can afford mistakes, multiple ones in fact. Beastie, one mistake could just end him. The upside he has right now is most of the spears, most of the torches got burned. But this is the Abbasid. There is potential Rams could be behind this. And we are seeing the next play is going to be heavy cavalry from LucifroN. A great idea considering Beastie just threw away the entire Spearman battalion. This raid through could break him.
Right now, LucifroN on 49 military pop compared to Beastie on 12. It is starting to all fall apart for Beastie. And this archer composition together with the lancers is beautiful because the archers do very effectively up against those camel riders, which is exactly what Beastie wants to be making on the defensive right now. But definitely just struggling here as he tries to hold on for dear life. The economic unit difference is starting to climb as well. Have a look at how many villages LucifroN's been able to take out recently. He's taken out 23 villages now. Remember that Beastie took out 17 unanswered, and it's good game. Game number 4 over to LucifroN. Another game down with LucifroN taking a 3-1 lead.
Excess mode on the dance floor because the way that Lucy was playing these fights, I mean, he was dancing on Beastie. We saw the early yoink in the critical fight on the camel archers that really set Beastie back. And from that point on, you just saw LucifroN start to identify his weak points. He covered them and played to that strength. Great ID, great usage of the trade that I've been like, you know, I've been blowing that horn until it breaks, right? I believe that the trade wing is absurdly powerful, and we got a preview as to why. Now, you could argue it doesn't count much when it's an Abbasid mirror, but I think people are going to continue to innovate this build. I think it's going to get stronger and stronger as the weeks go on, and we are just still in the early phases of what could be a very vile Abbasid reign of terror, I want to call it, because I think we're all scared a little bit of trade these days.
Especially if you're a Reddit poster, like myself. Yes, it can be quite scary. But yeah, well played by LucifroN there. I mean, that was suboptimal trade, and I think that's the important thing to remember. That's not even my final form. That was just, you know, that was not the best type of trade. So no. Wow. Okay, so
I think it's the secondary resource as well, right? That like makes even bad trade feel cool. And maximize the trade, laugh in their faces when you've got 30 plus, and they only just realize I'm huffing the copium right now. We've been racking our brain. We're wondering how the Chinese can do it. We'll have to see if LucifroN has a way as we move into map number 5. Don't be deceived by those scores, folks. LucifroN, as you can now see, he's the one leading 3-1. But Beastie, or at least as far as we can tell, Drongo, he looks favored with this Civ matchup.
You know, I'm just thinking out loud right now. Can you supervise a market?
I see no reason why not. So so you're getting on board with this.
I'm just saying, like,
I mean, I'm on board. Like, go Imperial Academy, right? Get into, you know, because you don't want to waste, you need extra IOs for that. Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
I mean, technically,
Like, so here's the only reason I don't like. I'm not going to say only reason is there's not 10, but here's the reason why I don't think that would work here though. Is even if you could supervise a marketplace, like, what unit is the Malian most likely to build? It's scouts, right? And
true.
how do you like? They're still scouts, even when they're warriors. They still scout. How do you hide trading?
You have to wall your entire trade route.
And that wouldn't be
that's one of your
suspicious at
options.
all, right? So now what you have to do is you have to wall in weird directions, like to the mid-map as well, to throw Beastie off the scent.
He'll never suspect a thing. He'll never suspect a thing. All right, well, let's take a little bit of a look at how this map has spawned out. Beastie's very happily got a back goal, but it's not really going to matter too much. LucifroN not going to be playing any kind of feudal pressure, or Dark Age pressure. Can we take a look inside the base of LucifroN? I think he's playing Dark Age pressure. I think he's going spears. He's going spears.
He has.
Wow.
And that's with a
What are the odds?
back gold spawn. So that's going to delay his time arriving on that pit mine considerably.
And interestingly, no Imperial official early on. No mill under the TC either. So this is a bit, yeah, very, very interesting.
I guess the thought process is you can't, like, you know, if you're going in for the racks, you can't really afford to get the mill or anything because you need the extra wood for spearman production. And oh my god, he's actually doing outpost rush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to outpost rush him. Okay, interesting.
How did we forget
look
this?
At the resources Beastie's got. Look at the resources Beastie's got oh, he's going Mansa Quarry, so he's not even protecting his. He's not even protecting his pit mine, but that's okay because it's a back spawn. Remember, it's a back spawn. That's okay. Everybody relax. How do you deal with the outpost though? That's going to be the problem because he's going to put this outpost right on top of the houses.
Not just the houses. It's going to be on top of the wood line, Drongo. So, like,
yeah, I think LucifroN makes 2 archers and then pulls 10 vills and then just kills it.
So I think Beastie, he understands this like better than most. You know, he's experienced plenty of tower rushes. He's done plenty himself. You can't drop the first outpost too deep because if you do, the villagers will rush out and torch it, even with Chinese build speed. And oh man, he's actually going the long way around.
Oof. Part of the reason why you always want to try and scout out before any kind of rush like this is just so that you don't go the long way around. And Beastie's definitely going to be feeling a little bit of suffrage after that.
I mean, like, well, no, LucifroN's the one feeling the pain, right? Because like he's the one trying to do this outpost drop.
Oh yes. Sorry, I've got them mixed up because I don't know why.
My brain done it for a moment as well. It's like it's weird when you've got this type of spawn and then you got the names up like that, but it is technically correct.
Yes.
But like the painful part about this is like it feels worse when you misplay the opening scout move as the Chinese because you feel like you shouldn't because of that extra vision, right? But sometimes the spawns just really are awkward for this play. He's going to get that outpost up, but you already see the reaction coming out. I believe that is archery range coming from Beastie.
Yeah, so I think on the defense here, Beastie should be able to get 2 spears, or sorry, 2 archers, and then just bust the outpost with vills. He will probably lose quite a few vills, actually, if he does that. Yeah, actually, maybe he can't even do that. There's too many units here. Okay, probably the right call.
I think you can protect this, though. Yeah, he has to go for the tower, so you can't attack the villagers.
Yep, just bust the tower. Make sure that he's jostling, and Spearman at the front also going to go down.
Oh, man. Maybe if that play was sooner. Looks like he will get the scout out before he goes down as well, so keep vision on his side. Archers have started to be produced, but you now know that these houses are gone, the pit mine, right? Like, you can't defend even with archers because the outpost.
Yeah, this is a big victory for LucifroN early on in this game. And I don't think Beastie was expecting this at all. I think had he expected it, we probably would have seen something like the Saharan Trade Network instead. But obviously, we don't.
We didn't talk about that thing. Giving up 2 villages?
Not anymore.
Would never do that.
Yes.
Oy.
Wait, Saharan Trade Network? Or am I thinking... No, I'm thinking... No, that's the Sultanani.
Sultanani Trade Network you're thinking of. The Saharan... is it Trade Post? Or something like that? The glorified outpost.
Yes, the big outpost, boy. Yes, the Barbican that trades. All right. Well, it looks like we got ourselves a stable coming up now. So Beastie looking to get out those scouts as we do so typically see of the Malians these days. But aggression still on the backside. Tell you what, Beastie's not having a fun game right now, is he?
Oh man, And yeah, like look what he got forced to do. So this play into javelins is because of what we mentioned about the range of the outposts. I don't think he wanted to do this originally because you're up against spearmen. You want archers. But the archers get too close, and they also have a lot less armor than those javelins.
And you can see the archer is getting shot here by the outpost. He's got to be careful. Okay, does the right thing, pulls it back. But it looks like the pit mine might be able to survive.
Yes, 2 javelins now.
At least for the moment.
You have to commit the villagers as well, or just accept you're going to lose some of the spearmen. But yeah, he's going to go for the strong arm move. Probably loses 2 of the spearmen in the process. Wait, did he think? I think he thought he had it.
Oh,
Wait, but the
he's
villagers.
trying to pick off the vills. Oh, he's trying to pick off the vills. He doesn't even care about the pit mine. He's just picking off the vills. It's so smart. Really, really well played there.
Oh, back into it. Villagers now being low HP'd as well. In fact, I think he just lost the villager there. Probably going to lose the second one. Beast in the meantime is going to move far out for a gold vein in a position that I don't think LucifroN is ever likely to scout.
Yeah, it's very far away from everything. Over on that west side, there are 2 large gold veins. So he's going to look to secure the west side of the map. Definitely makes a lot of sense in this situation.
I actually really love that players have started doing that, by the way. Like, the moment your opponent goes for a slow comp, you should play flanks. We've seen it with things like the idea of food sources, but it's cool to see it with the Malians. It's definitely a civ that gets more value, right? Because you only have to send 1 villager for the big eco value, and you're going to be doing enough work out there that it doesn't feel like wasted idle time.
All right, well, it looks like this outpost is going to be able to... Well, okay, there's the bust. That's what we were looking for. There's a lot of units inside here, 5 in total, so he should be able to pick off a couple of villagers. Let's see how he does it. Focuses down the first one. He's up to 4 worker kill, 3 worker kills so far, but the outpost is going to go down. And with that, he's going to get a couple of vills for it as well. He's just going to be careful not to lose the scout. But microing well. A lot of these are quite low health, and he does indeed pick them off.
Yeah, so after all that, right, like, think about what's happened here. You might get the other villager out. I think he's eventually going to get hunted down. So you've lost the same amount of villagers as you got out of Beastie. You did force him to go into javelins, though. That's the productive mindset here, is like, did Beastie really want javelins here?
Did he lose the pit mine?
I think he kept it alive. But like the thought process here is like your opponent had to go into javelins. Like, is there a world in which you want to go javelins? Not really at this stage. So it's kind of a win for LucifroN. And now I think he's going to go back for your atypical me-like TCs, me-build TCs Chinese.
Which is definitely the right call in this position. So from here, he goes into 2 TC, Song Dynasty. Expect to see the Barbican out as well. Where does he go for the Barbican? I mean, maybe the Sacred Site, but even then, maybe just in the front of the base is probably the best bet. Do we see professional scouts from Beastie? Probably not yet, obviously, but it might be the case that we see it shortly.
He's got enough of them. It's a good idea, because if you force Chinese to go to farms because they have no deer here, I think it's kind of GG.
He already has it. He already has professional scouts. Oh, damn. Okay, I did not expect that. I thought he's under so much pressure. There's no way he's picked up professional scouts already, but he does, and he picks up a sheep on the way home as well.
Well, think about the fact he always got that passive gold. The Manta was set to gold the whole time, and then also look at his techs. He only got wheelbarrow. So that's why it was affordable for him. And we are going to see that second TC far out. Expect the Barbican between this TC and the primary, because there's a lot to secure in that area. There's the deer, there's the berries, there's the gold. And cool thing is, you're Chinese, so you should get this up before the scouts come back.
Yes, very true. But Beastie definitely pulling out to a nice little lead here, and Castle Edge looks imminent for him. He could be into the Farimba garrison, mass archers, and having himself a very good time.
Uh-oh.
But is he looking to steal away some of the deer? Is that what he's doing? Or is it just... I think it's the javelins, isn't he? He's managing to pick off a couple of vills. Very well sniped there by the Beast.
He actually only got 1 extra... Or was that... No, because he never finished the low HP.
2.
Yeah, so he got 2. That's not too bad. Yep. He's also taken out a few of the spearmen. Obviously, there's a premium here, spearmen 80 compared to the 120 of the Malians. But I think the kind of baited feeling there is you have to remember that part of what the Malian's expending is something he's happy to. It's that passive gold. So it's not the end of the world losing units like that, especially when your tech up is not very far behind it. I mean, he's just waiting on the food, and then we could easily just see a Farimba play into a beat down on this TC.
Yeah, it's going to be the case. And indeed, the Farimba garrison does come down now for Beastie. And look at this, 12 villagers on the age up as well. So he's in a rush. And this is what makes it so hard for LucifroN to defend this, because he's going to be playing from feudal. And playing from feudal up against a Malian castle age player is very difficult.
Yeah, and keep in mind how greedy that TC now looks in hindsight for LucifroN. He still doesn't have a Barbican to defend it. And even if he does, he's so loose here with limited garrison points.
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, no, I would be surprised. I was going to say, I would be surprised if LucifroN just surrenders as soon as the age up comes through, because Beastie's put out really good pressure. And I think you're 100% on the money that there's no real way that this town center stays alive for the next 3 minutes or so. Just simply because, like, from this point onwards, Beastie's just going to start the production.
It's going to get pumping. And LucifroN, I do like the fact he's going to Horseman. He's already got a Master Spearman. It's going to be a part of it. But the Horseman gives him that flexibility to try and, like, you know, cut the reinforcements. I don't think LucifroN wants a straight-on engagement 2 minutes from now. I think he wants to be that guy creating a conga line of death, right? Where Beastie has this trickle of troops and they're just being picked off.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, we see veterancy coming through now on the Warrior Scouts, and plenty of archers are now hitting the field with the first group of 5 from that Farumba garrison, and veterancy going to be coming through on those archers as well. I'd expect to see, oh, we've got ourselves a double stable here. Okay, interesting development.
Yeah, because he built the initial Horseman.
Yeah, is LucifroN looking for a castle age, do you think?
I think he now gets forced to build more army to defend. Like, maybe he was considering it down the line, but I think he understood that he's going to need horsemen in some capacity. Now you have to build up a sizable army before you can tech up, right? And the cool thing is, because you have this double TC song, you'll eventually have a big enough economy to match the military count and then still tech up. But I think if he rushes it here, he's going to lose that TC, and that's the last thing he can afford to do right now.
Another thing to note is LucifroN's going to need to farm transition shortly.
Yeah.
So because Beastie's denied so much of his food, he took away, I think, about 3 or 4 deer.
He has got the boar, though, remember. And I think he's actually moving for it now.
He is. Which is a smart move. Boar is going to satiate. What's the word I'm looking for?
His
satiate him for quite some time, yes. He's got to be careful not to lose the villager, though.
No IO here, though. I notice this quite frequently, that people just don't want to run their IOs out to dangerous territory. The reason why it might have been worthwhile here is, like, it delays that farm transition more. Not by a crazy amount, but, like you mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, if he has to go for those farms, kind of feels like GG, especially when you're a tech age behind.
I think it's very worth it to be going for the IO on that boar at this point, because there's nowhere else really that you would want to, and you always want to have them on food where possible. But we do see Beastie now moving out across the edge of the map. Might recognize that boar has gone down and that LucifroN is looking for additional sources of food. Beastie comes in around the back, and indeed he will spot it. And this is not good right now, because a lot of those vills have already taken damage. And
the vet warrior scouts
watch
as well.
those worker kills. Yeah. Oh, this is not pretty right now. Beastie having a field day.
I think he gets all of them.
Good thing LucifroN didn't bring that IO out, hey?
Yeah. It turns out it's part of the plan. He's like, I was definitely going to lose all these villagers anyway. So 6 of them go down and 2 escape. Problematic. Like, LucifroN, I think, to get that tech up and build a big enough force to hold BC back, you probably need to feel like 25 to 30 eco lead, especially against the Malians, right? Because they have that passive income that's escalating. Look at the count difference. Like, I mean, you've done a lot of Chinese main in your time. You look at these numbers. Do you feel confident as a Chinese player?
Definitely not at this point, no. The main thing that's alarming for me is that your enemy's been castled for so long. So it means that they've picked up relics. It means that they're going to start taking sacred sites. They've got everything going for them, and that was dangerous. That was very, very close. But yeah, at this point, you're just getting further and further behind. And the thing is, the units that you are making right now, the units you don't want to be making when you get to castle. When you get to castle, you want to be spears, nest of bees, palace guards, those sorts of things. But you don't want to be making those units now.
And we mentioned how Chiganu can get roughed up. They'll do well against the archers, but remember, this is castle age archers. Not only the higher damage, but probably have poison not far behind this. We already see the imported armors is coming through soon. And just 5 of these sofas up against a fuel age army can last a long time. IO's going to be sniped out. And this is where LucifroN, I think you just have to play cat and mouse. Like, there's no realm in which you can take a straight fight.
Yeah, there's so many units here. How many archers do we have on the screen right now, Vodka? Can we take a look and see
like
exactly
30?
what that... Yeah, it feels like it's a lot. It's a huge amount. You can see...
35.
Yeah, 35 coming in, so yeah, you...
Oh, no, he's out on the boar again. I mean, the army can run, but what about these
again.
guys? Like, why do you lead them here? Leave us alone!
All right, well, the horseman numbers are increasing for LucifroN. I don't think it's going to be enough. He's going to try his best to hold on, but Beastie's mass is looking incredibly solid as he retreats towards the gold vein. You can see the Jukunu firing off from the backside, but keep in mind that armor is about to come through, and it is now through, and Beastie with the +2 ranged attack as well means he's going to be teeing off on these units, and good game gets called. Beastie hits back in game number 5.
Beastie, what a way to close that out. Honestly, strong point, refused to let up, relentless in the assault, and you saw where he made his stand on that gold vein that prevented the horseman mass from getting in and getting maximum value before they experienced maximum pain. Made that final fight look all the more dominant from him. Beastie just showing us why the Marlins are so strong. I did like that LucifroN tried for this outpost play, especially considering it's so out of meta. It's not something you'd think to do straight away, and that speaks to that gameplay variance I talked about. When you do something unexpected, your opponent's less likely to have the reaction in place, whether it's based on the civ or your playstyle. And I think it's fair to say not many players, bar 1 or 2, Kazra comes to mind, shout out to that boy, are committing to outpost and aggressive early building plays with the Chinese right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of...
See Rush Onlys the other week, and I was even winning. So clearly Crackety understands everything perfectly. Get those subs in. And while you do that, we'll keep delivering the action. It is time for another game. LucifroN leads, but Beastyqt, can he turn it around? If he puts the brakes on here, we said the rest of the draft looks heavily Beastie favored, but this is going to be a crucial map, and LucifroN could clearly have the edge in an English-Delhi clash with water.
2 civilizations that are considered pretty much the top of the top right now, the top of the pops. English in the most recent stage of this event was banned out in all 12 maps. The Delhi Sultanate, I think it was banned out, what, about 5 maps maybe? Maybe a bit more than that. It was banned out quite a bit, but players all over the world agree that the Delhi is a pretty damn good civ at the moment. So we have got, in this game number 6, 2 of the best civs in the current meta facing up against each other. And Beastie going to be taking a pond on the edge of the map here. Wants to avoid a fight with his opponent. LucifroN, however, looks to take the pond closest to the center. He is raring for a fight. He is ready to go, KP.
Yeah, this was anticipated, right? We discussed in the pre-game, you can't contest in the area. You'll just lose the English. So I'm glad he done this. When even more defensive than he necessarily had to, most players might just take the central lake, so they have a fallback lake afterwards. But they shouldn't hurt him too much. He can still just move to that secondary one. There shouldn't be a risk that LucifroN's going to be aggro too early. And I think Beastie will do that quite quickly when he realizes there's no men-at-arms play coming for LucifroN, which I think is an edge for the English here. Like, going men-at-arms when your opponent has a back spawn like this, I don't think you do any damage. So it actually plays to the English advantage.
Yeah. We'll have to see exactly what he looks to do in the Dark Age. Dropping off a couple of sheep here and just working off those straggler trees, as is pretty standard here. We'll ride on board with Beastie for a bit. His scout has looped around over towards LucifroN's side. A very big, generous loop he's gone for here. We rarely see loops like this. Talking about, of course, his scouting path. You can see it on the mini-map, the way that he's gone.
Oh, but this is something cool you can do as the Delhi and the Abbasid, though, right? Because you go berries instead. It's a really cool perk that these civs have, and one that I think the Delhi have used historically better than the Abbasids even, because of their timings.
All right, well, Beastie makes his way back towards the base. We'll have a look at what he's working on at the moment. So it looks like the last straggler is about to be eaten up. He's got lots of villagers on wood for the moment. He's got 8 vills on wood with the 1 making the lumber camp. So a total of 9. And he does cash in.
Boys, there we go.
Don't worry. Don't worry. There we go.
I was getting ready. I was going to say, like, I'll still say it, the timing was perfect for it, right? Like, he's not outside the downtime for a second there, because I don't think they registered as idle. Like, there wasn't really any downtime in terms of waiting for, like, a lumber camp or being at risk.
Yeah.
Lucy, I think he could actually think about yoinking one of Beastie's ponds now, right? Get the wood together and then just go for it. He has got the lumber camp up already, and there is no way that Beastie would want to contest that, and he can't, considering he took the safest lake first.
Wouldn't it be a bit dangerous coming out of the blocks, though, if the Delhi player looks to just go, scholar inside the stable and just spams out horsemen? Probably not. I reckon you could probably just get your archer ship out and defend, couldn't you?
Yeah, but like the logic is you kind of plant a flag, and like, can you get enough horsemen before I get an archer ship. I don't think you can. And I don't think it would have cost LucifroN much on his tech timings, right? Like, he's still pretty optimal in food and gold. It just would have meant that he would have had one less fishing boat, but long term, it's better, right? It just comes down to whether you want short term gains or long term gains.
Yeah, that does make sense. All right, well, the age up about to come through for LucifroN. I'm suspecting it's going to be the Council Hall, but we have been surprised today. We obviously did see the trade wing come out of LucifroN previously, and in a matchup where often you can see fights happen in the Castle Age, perhaps he looks elsewhere and opts for a landmark that's different. But no, it is just going to be the Council Hall for now.
It's just too good.
I always get ahead of myself. It is. I can't believe they buffed this landmark. I mean, I appreciate that they wanted to make it a bit better in the Castle Age, but now it's just insanely good.
Yeah, like, we've seen what happens, right? So we still see a lot of King's Palace, but once people are able to break away from that into the White Palace builds, that's where you really see how busted the combo is, right? You drop a White Palace plus a Council Hall, and you have, at the beginning of Castle Age, 4 crossbow producing buildings. 4.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? You get castle, and oh look, my landmarks are 4 crossbow buildings, crossbow building buildings, crossbow training, crossbow constructing,
producing buildings. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, interestingly, we also see a barracks going to be coming down, so that is indicative of feudal age intentions here. No sign of a second town center, at least not just yet. But the first of the men at arms is going to be rallied out onto the maps shortly.
Man, you calling them like constructors, like constructing. It's just making me think of like Age of Mythology with like the automaton soldiers. Oh,
I'll be honest, I've never played Age of Mythology.
Oh, you're in for
no idea what that is.
You're in for a welcoming treat, my friend. Me, Recon, and like Magic and a few others will take you in. They won't be nice to you, but we'll take you in.
Yes, I suspect they wouldn't be. I'm pretty sure, aren't Recon, Magic, and Mister all like the champions of mythology?
Yeah, they're some of the top players. I think they're like, I think like a top 5 is fair for all of them. There's 1 or 2 players that didn't come across. But that's to look forward to, folks. It's not an inappropriate topic. We have got that in the future. But obviously, Age of Empires 4 will definitely still be in the minds of them. I think they still got a lot of love for that, as we do for this game as well. And I don't know if we have a lot of love for this men at arms. You know, it's only 1 for now, so we don't have to cringe and be disgusted about it too much. I think LucifroN's just going to stop at 1 as well. Kind of like treat this as that whole idea of like gameplay face value, right? I've built a men at arms, so now Beastie has to act like I'm building a lot more.
Well, to be fair, there's quite a few units coming up the rear right now, but a lot of them are just longbows. But the Dow does come out, immediately looks to put on some pressure for these longbows. And take a look at this, an outpost going to be coming out. I suspect this one might be getting the old cancel, though. Yeah,
it's a very bold move there.
Oh.
Potato aim, though. Don't you just love these archer ships aim? And the torch damage through. Beastie, he realizes a bit late there.
Yeah, look at the damage that gets done, and I love the torch getting thrown so far across the pond. But,
yeah, you left someone behind. Take this. Oh, good lord.
Look at the pressure that's getting put out right here. This is a little bit crazy. I don't think I expected it to go this way. He's focusing the fishing boats down so that the fishing boats can't heal up the Dow. And then after that, he's going to be able to focus the Dow. Can't even get in close to deal with the villagers building the outpost. And once this outpost gets up, the pond is completely denied. And that's going to leave Beastie without a pond at all on this side.
Beastie's just been completely outplayed here. Like, this is rough. He was going into Horseman, but that comes with a delay to... And you already know LucifroN's pushing spears, right? Because he instantly went to them, didn't have to worry about hardened either. You get that for free as the English. Now you're a 1 lake boy. And LucifroN, he's got 5 as options. He's only on 1 right now. I don't think he needs to be too gluttonous. Like, his army power is really strong. We also have to remember that this is a Dome of Faith build, right? So Beastie doesn't even have the extra attack speed to kind of negate this aggressive outpost placement now.
Yeah. Interesting point that it is a Dome of the Faith build, so doesn't have that extra attack speed that we're so used to seeing on the Delhi Sultanate. So gonna be focusing heavily on cavalry in this matchup. But for the moment, yeah, Delhi just gonna be sticking it out with the single dock. And I guess he just really is just gonna hunker down at this point, wait for his sanctity to come through. Look to take sacred sites, but have a look at where the sacred sites are.
They're not good for him. He has to play into LucifroN's side. I mean, this is the flip of the coin, right? It's very rare that you get a sacred site balanced immediately in the center, it always tends to lean to one player's side or the other. And unfortunately for Beastie, it's not his in this position. Not that that would make much of a difference when you consider how deep LucifroN is now going. Not quick enough for the Lombos to snipe out the villagers, so the Archer Ranger is going to go up. But he just got full vision on what's coming next. He knows what your play is going to be. It's the 1-2 tap of Horseman Archer.
Yeah, there's plenty of production back here, but look at the way that the line of sight's coming through for these villagers. So Beastie not cutting through into the center of the wood line, subsequently getting punished pretty badly because of it. But we do see a scout moving around on the backside. Keep in mind, longbows with their extra range can hit over the top here. Whoops. As long as they've got visible connection, that's all that matters. They need that line of sight.
LucifroN's going to lose this army. He needs to get as much damage done as possible. Every element of Beastie's force is on the way. Horseman are going to waste a bit of time, and Archer's going to push against this. The Scholars are also here, and he doesn't have enough longbows to snipe them out. So make no mistake, Lucy's going to lose the Vanguard force. He does have a second army building behind this, but didn't really achieve much idle time out of this, right? The villagers got annoyed. They didn't get butchered.
Yeah, but Beastie doing a great job on the micro. You can see him just looking to try and shut down those spears, continuing to focus them down, but at the same time, LucifroN doing a wonderful job in sniping them out. But as you mentioned, LucifroN will be losing everything here, and that is exactly the case. Beastie going to have some decent numbers. Could look to potentially challenge the outpost towards the center of the map where that sacred site is. And LucifroN, on the other hand, starting to stack up some units now, but where are all of the resources that he's got gone? Has he? Oh, he's looked for a second pond.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains it.
But like he's played it really far away, right? He didn't snatch Beasties, and I like this approach. Because he just threw away troops like that, you can't just yoink your opponent's ponds because he was in a position to punish it. Now, Beastie's probably going to like hunker down a bit. He might secure his second pond after getting rid of the outpost, but he's not going to punish your economy. So while LucifroN did lose a lot of troops there, because you have to remember that the Lombos are more premium compared to the Archers, and he didn't kill too many villagers alongside it, he did at least get the space to now kind of freely boom up behind. And Horseman count isn't really big enough for Beastie to kind of roam the field right now. Instead, he has to take that slow, surgical approach on the sacred sites.
All right, well, the first sacred site is now tipped in Beastie's favor. It looks like there's also a blue unit moving out towards the east side. Could be a scholar. Definitely moving towards that sacred site.
Yeah, he's moving way too slow to be a cav unit. It could just be an early warlock, but nah, it's definitely it has to be the scholar. And he's going to meet a friend there. An unlikely friendship.
A yellow friend. Some of the worst friends in life.
Someone crack up the romance music, right? When a man meets a scholar. Oh, he doesn't want any part of
it. Yeah, he's gone his separate way. Really nicely read by LucifroN on the timing there. 11 minutes 30. You wouldn't normally pick that as like the sacred site scholar timing, but he was on point. 30 seconds later, and it would have been a different case. But we do see the walls have come up over on the west side. So sacred site number 1 now currently held for Beastie. Towards the middle of the map, though, horseman numbers still looking pretty solid.
Yeah, nothing here to protect these fishing boats. They will get torched down quickly, and remember, he built surplus, so can't hide them.
How many worker kills was that down there? I saw like 3 villagers on the gold that went down.
I think it was free, because it was 6, right? From the fishing boats. So you're right, like, it gets snatched as free there, and LucifroN is playing Beastie like a fiddle. He can't get anything here.
He can't get anything, but Beastie's still doing well, right? Like, he's picking up the second sacred site, which is really key. And you can see LucifroN playing as the English. He's got this immobile composition. We've watched many English players before, and it's always a composition of immobility. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but it's this infantry composition that's very typically slow moving.
I call them the old men with walking sticks, right? Because usually it's spears and lombos, and they both kind of look like they've got long walking sticks there. You know, like if you cut the top off those lombos, it just looks like a cane. And it really feels that way. They just don't move fast. As you said, they're very mobile. They're very strong, though. That's the key. But these horsemen are very strong at avoiding that problem and instead pummeling you away from the main engagement.
We take a look towards that central sacred site because this one's going to be neutralized, but the next fight is going to be over that central sacred site where Beastie is moving a huge force. Have a look at this. Beastie's numbers are starting to rise quickly. What is going on? Not only that,
man.
he's going to castle very shortly.
Dude, this has been so surgical. LucifroN's issue, like that big Vanguard force he lost, set him back so much. You know, some people might feel like it was an even trade, it wasn't too bad. But it's such a premium you're paying as the English at a point in the game where you don't have big eco advantages. Meanwhile, Delhi, the moment they move out, BC understands. Sacred sites lock in, extra generation there, berry patches, extra food there. Still got my fishing boats in the corner for a while, not too bad. He just understands his timing so well, and we see why the Delhi can be so oppressive and impressive. And I think we're going to see more of that, because once that castle age goes up, I wouldn't be surprised if LucifroN just waves the white flag.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. This is looking like an increasingly difficult position for him. Beastie on the Delhi looking solid and trying to even up this series. Obviously started off a bit slow, but yeah, working his magic in this series, or in this game, that is for sure. I don't know where it eked out. It had to be that big fight down to the south, right?
He lost
that
so
was
much.
it. And then from there, yeah, he lost a lot of units, like 15 units.
And
or
also, he got forced to hang around to like finish off Horsemen because it's Delhi with lots of scholars, right? It's that classic annoying thing that we've all experienced that we hate. It's like you take a fight, you're like, I lost a bit, but wasn't too bad. And then you realize that anything that you didn't kill, it's just going to be healed, right? Like the scholars come out, they kiss the boo-boos better, and all of a sudden that advantage or that slight lead that they'd had is huge. It's overwhelming. Well, Tech-up comes through. LucifroN now diving underneath the TC with what is mainly a massive Lombos here. He can idle out, but it's going to cost him.
All right, well, Spear's looking to dive down deep. Just protecting the longbows as they come through. They're looking for villager kills. That's going to be the primary concern here, but Beastie not going to allow it and beginning to push through. Needs to be careful of those spears, and they've made their way through the pack. The numbers for Beastie still looking pretty solid. Keep in mind, reinforcements are going to be here in the base, and the Lancers start making instant connections. It's great to see, KP.
I mean, it's just a wash, right? You've just thrown away your army, but usually you do this if you're teching up. Check LucifroN's resources. He's doing no such thing. Like, this is just at a loss for him. Not only that, he's being raided at home. Cavalry comes in the backside again, and once again, Beastie is a thorn in the side. This man loves his horsemen, and he'll make you hate him. LucifroN, I mean, this might just be the point, right? Like, you've lost control of the map. Your brute force approach didn't really kill much, and you know you're now just minutes away from village fortresses and castles.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. My question is, though, LucifroN's got 1,000 food a minute. Where did it all go? Because he's got a handful of spears in queue, but
did he move from
no
a
idea
food
where the
source
rest
to
of...
a new one, maybe?
I'm not sure exactly where it went, but Sacred Site's now getting captured as well. Over on the east side, we hear relics getting picked up as well. Beastie just looking to do it all early on in this castle age.
Yeah, you just have no standing army. Like, and this is the Warriors. Even if you get a tech up now, you do have Spearman with attack speed buff, but it's simply not enough. GG gets called. A critical moment in this series. We said from here on out, Beastie felt like he had the outdraft, a map that could put LucifroN on match point in a position where he could close out in free. Now you have to start to ask the question, is this just going to be a brutal beatdown from Beastie? Can LucifroN still win? He went on this map. He's still got plenty more to go.
Really well played there from Beastie. Incredibly solid. Great job biding his time. Took advantage of when his enemy looked to try and push and dish out some damage and capitalize, pushed him off balance. And from there, it was just all over Red Rover. Took the Sacred Sites. Very solid game from Beastie. And yeah, nothing much to it, really. There weren't any crazy Dark Age fights. The Castle Age didn't really matter a huge amount. It already felt like Beastie was ahead at that point anyway.
Yeah, and you know this speaks to something that Beastie highlighted about Vortex and LucifroN, and it's that they have this history of throwing out their best civs at the start of a series, and we come back to that idea of gameplay variance, right? Is if you're known to do that, should you do it all the time? Well, if you confidently think you can 4-0 or 5-0 in this situation, do it, great. But if you start to run into speed bumps, which he'd already ran into 2, you run into Trouble Town. Right, we talked about this matchup probably being the strongest one remaining for Lucy, because now we're in a very predictable phase of the game. Unless LucifroN
combinations.
So it was what was the math we said? So it's going to be 10 x 10 x 9, 900. Math hard.
It's a lot.
900 possibilities. That's insane.
But speaking of possibilities, there's only 2 at the moment. Either an Ottoman's win or a Malian win. And we are going to find out exactly what the answer to that possibility is as Beastie on the south side of the map, in the color blue on the Ottomans, throws down his very first military school.
And a critical game for LucifroN. We highlighted before Beastie. Feels like at the later phase of this series, he's outdrafted. In that he's taken the advantage. He's the one doing the outdrafting. LucifroN definitely put a bunch of his strong civs ahead in these earlier series, right? He definitely came out swinging strong to begin with. Meanwhile, Beastie kind of playing towards that stamina burnout approach where he's happy for these series to go deeper. This is a critical game. Can't help but feel that if Beastie wins this map, LucifroN, it's an uphill battle because the Civ matchups just don't seem to align for him. We'll have to see if the Malians are as busted as we were led to believe in round number 3 by the Malian King himself, or if Malian Lord can find the solution with the Ottomans.
Indeed, indeed. So, we've got LucifroN and the Malians here. We've seen him before work his magic with this civilization. Obviously, he's going up against somebody renowned for his skill with the Malians. Do you think Beastie's able to predict everything that LucifroN's going to throw out here and deal with it appropriately? Or do you think LucifroN might have something sneaky up his sleeve?
You know, you got to kind of like feel that Beastie's at an edge. I mean, in fairness, Drongo, Beastie has played Malians in more grand finals than any other player in Age of Empires 4. Did you know that?
I did not know that. There you go.
Yeah. So he should have, surely he knows every possibility. I think we all recall the last grand finals around number 3. And he will at least be able to be the tempo setter with his open in the military school. I don't expect him to hang around and add in Iraqs or whatnot. They should just be layering for probably like Sipahi as the game goes on. You know, Warrior Scouts are annoying, but Sipahi with meta, there is a way where you can pinch them. So definitely watch out for that around like 8 or 9 minutes.
All right, we'll have to see how it goes. But the Manta Quarry coming down, so not going to be any sign of trade today. But that doesn't mean that there won't be trade later on. Interestingly to note, as you mentioned, there's no barracks coming through for Beastie. We used to see a bit of a barracks opening in this matchup. I think, actually, did we see it earlier today? We saw a potential barracks opening.
Yes.
But, yeah, it looks like the Twin Minaret Madras are going to come down for Beastie here now. If we take a look at where his deer has spawned, it's... Oh, is that villager looks stuck. That villager...
Buddy?
Excuse me, villager.
You want to get out of here?
All right, there we go. He worked himself out.
Pathfinding
Took a
is
few
Farouk.
too many spears to the face.
Yeah, that was the brain damage. It made it harder for him to figure it out.
So, often you're looking to expand out on food as the Ottomans, and part of that can be deer. But in this situation where you've got the Malians who do threaten to take that deer away, you're able to fall back on a couple of aspects. The first thing that you're able to fall back on is the Twin Minaret Madrasa. You're also able to fall back on the additional sheep that you can get from your Vizier point. We don't really see people look to take it that often. In fact, it's fallen out of favor a lot in the current meta. I remember back in the day when Ottomans was first released, that was the only thing people were taking. But how the tables turn.
Yeah, it's like, so when Ottomans first came out, everyone was obsessed with the sheep. Then people discovered the meta, like this is pretty busted. We then started to see people go towards the Imam play, but that was very situational. This is one of the situations where you won't expect to see it, though, because you're up against like mass archers in Feudal usually. Usually you build it against, say, HRE, who are only going to build melee, right? So you're not going to lose those Imams. Meta will be crucial here, though, especially if your opponent's going to play mass Warrior Scouts, because otherwise you have simply got no way of catching them. And even if you go Sipahi, you're going to need that extra movement speed to gap close.
All right, well, the age up comes through. Beastie's up to the feudal age as well. Now we see those Warrior Scout numbers starting to build. You can see him just looking, looming, waiting, and wanting to try and take this fight. Beautiful read there by the Malian player LucifroN. But he looks like he's going to be able to snag one of the spears.
This is such a bad feeling.
Isn't it? What? It feels so terrible.
It's like taunting a 1-year-old with their favorite toy just out of reach. Like, come and get it. It's like, bro, I can't reach it. Come on. Just give it
That's
to me.
oddly specific.
Don't know what you're talking about.
KP, what have you been doing back there? Oh, gosh. Give her a toy, KP.
She's just gotta grow up. Just get a bit taller, you know? Can't make a basketball player out of her if you don't grow faster.
Very, very true. All right, well, lots of sheep getting dropped off there for Beastie. Beastie's got a lot of sheep under that town center. That looked like 9, 10 sheep.
Decent
like a vizier point's worth of sheep.
Right, yeah. Like, I wish we could find out where the vizier points are being invested, but I imagine it has to be like the meta.
Yeah, I would suspect it's going to be.
Like, the blacksmith not going up is problematic. You can't even get a defensive force up quickly because of this. These units are so stupid. He's already up to almost 8, and 5 of them are already in your base.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy strong unit, and the upgrade in particular, but he looks for a surround here. Going to be able to find it on none of the units, trying to get that scout, but oh my lord, he could have run that scout towards the town center. Doesn't actually get it, and now just looking to cause havoc, hitting that gold vein, falling back. We do see that upgrades are starting to come through now. Double broadaxe for both players, wheelbarrow for Beastie, horticulture for LucifroN. So some differences in the upgrades, and once again looping back around to the woodline. He's relentless, isn't he?
A dog with a bone just won't let go. I mean, this is the bad feeling. They don't do this to Sipahi. That was very close. He was going for the wraparound. Like, losing the first few Sipahi cripples you. We talked about that timing where you can get enough of them with the meta and you movement speed past the scouts to block them. But that only works if you reach like 8 or 10. That's a very big goal very far away right now. Just look at the count. Like, only building the second. Meanwhile, LucifroN about to crack 12 scouts in total.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. And another thing, oh, how many vills is that from Beastie? That's 5 vills on the stone.
Was it 5? Yeah, 5. So
is that a town center that he was playing it there?
No, it second military school, right? Yeah.
He's already got enough. Oh, right, okay. So
they dropped off.
Yeah, he's just... Yeah, okay, cool. All right, well, numbers starting to build. How likely is it that you think we'll see an early castle coming out from Beastie here? Or do you think he's going to just stick to it with the feudal age?
I don't think you can get away with it. Like, you've seen how annoying these scouts are. You have to build enough army to defend. So you're probably going to get to a point where you have that breakout point. The question is, like, does LucifroN have that option on the other side, right? Could he just now start hoarding, stop at 12? Because you've seen what he's able to do. He has 2 different harassment groups going, and Beastie only has enough to respond to 1.
Yeah, it's definitely the case. Numbers very even, though, across the board. We've got, 29 versus 30 economic units here. Beastie's still yet to lose any units, though, or economic units, which is very, very nice from his part.
Yeah.
He's had quite a few vills go down to very low amounts of health, but nothing lost just yet.
Hey, we ain't going to put them in hospital. We ain't going to heal them. They're still healthy enough to work there. That's all that matters. That wall also is a little frustration. I love that detail from Beastie. It's such a painful feeling when you have this complete wraparound against cavalry. Now, LucifroN doesn't have that option. He has to dive into these choke points where Spearmen can punish him. They need to be fast.
Yeah.
Oh, that micro Beastie. He actually saves the villager. That peel back was a beaut.
Wow. One of the things to know, I'm curious, it looks like that woodline's been chopped through, but I don't think LucifroN has actually sent a villager down here to chop through it. So I don't know whether that was like a misclick or something that happened from Beastie, but I don't think it's going to be too relevant just on that south side. Let's have a look. You can see there's a tree that's fallen down.
Maybe his villager was stuck on the south side and he chopped through, but then forgot to re-wool. Sounds a bit crazy, but like, I'm not sure. That's a bit funky because it feels like there shouldn't be a villager ever naturally going around there. But let's be real here. Like we're still a few kinks being ironed out. We aren't completely bug free yet, although we're getting there.
Slowly, soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the number's starting to build for Beastie. He's got 24 up against 11 military. But keep in mind the Fruma garrison is here and expect to see archers coming out shortly. LucifroN got plenty of gold stacked up here.
Beastie's nowhere near ready, so he needs to get in, apply maximum pressure. His read on the situation was right, that this was just too weak from LucifroN. LucifroN, the crazy part is if he didn't lose those scouts with his dive, I'm not even sure Beastie would have came out this early. And it would have been even better for him. But now he at least has some pressure on him, which is key for Beastie. I mean, he's a whole age behind, and I don't think he can look back now. I think he just has to double down on an all-in.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult spots, and I think he's heard your call. We see siege engineering coming through now for Beastie. So he is going to be looking to drop down the rams, get this push really started, because we've got the spears out, but these are baby steps.
Those houses are going to be an annoying loss for Lucy. Enough here that he could find himself housed, so needs to restructure elsewhere. He has got that additional pit mine on the backside, so should be fine in that regard. And remember that Beastie, he's gone for a slow comp, so he's not going to poke on the sides here. It's just kind of a brute force down the center. Javelins will definitely be a nuisance slowing that down.
Yeah, interestingly going into javelins rather than archers, but I guess in this position it does make sense. A little bit more expensive, but we do see some archers now in queue with some donzos as well.
I mean,
Upgrades coming through for Beastie though. Ranged armor will be the choice he makes.
I actually really like the javelins here. Like, obviously there's archers to snipe out, but it guarantees you're never in range for a trade. And you've got gold, right? It's a Marimba price, so just expend it that way. And then expend the food into things like more cavalry. This is
speaking of
ambitious.
cavalry, we do see the veterancy on the warrior scouts coming through, but yeah, you're not wrong. Definitely ambitious. There's the upgrade now. They've got extra yellow coats on them now.
Wow. This is like some MMO where you wear a thong and become stronger logic. I just put on a cape and I've got like +2 damage and +25 health. And what else are we talking here? Was it +25? I think it's +20 health for the scouts, right? Not as absurd.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are. I just know that the health goes crazy once you get that warrior scout upgrade the first time.
They're like 8-year-old children, right? They put like a blanket cape on, they think they're a superhero all of a sudden. I love it.
Wait, your children aren't superheroes when they put the cape on?
Don't tell them.
I was lied to all along. But we'll wait. We'll talk about that later because
you need to wear
we've got ourselves a
underpants on your
battle.
head to get the extra +2. Drongo.
Oh, isn't it just the outside? I think it's just the outside. But look at the numbers here.
Oh,
Beastie just surrounding so many spears here. Keep in mind, when you make those javelins, they're not going to counter enemy spears. So it just gives those units an extra little bit of buffer here, but not managing to take out any of those scouts.
That was a slow peel back by LucifroN. Those are pricey units to lose. That's his probing approach, right? Like, he needs to whittle this down. Like, he understands that Beastie is going to have a massive advantage for the next few minutes. These javelins were meant to be the slow but methodical approach to relieving that pressure. Yeah, this kind of loss slows him down. And remember, he's not putting additional javelins behind this. He's only adding in more donzos as it stands.
Slowly but steadily, this battering ram is battering away at the houses that LucifroN's got. There's no real risk here of housing
Beastie's
population
flanking.
being reached, though.
Beastie's being such a pain in the ass, man. Like, we've seen it time and time again in the games where he's looking dominant. He's getting that cavalry and he's playing the flanks that he's renowned for. Just forcing that idle time is crippling. Like, just think about how LucifroN should look in a castle stage timing like this, and then look at his military count and the comp he has. Does this feel like your typical Malian Farimba opening of castle? Like, it doesn't to me.
Definitely doesn't. No, it feels very slow. He's actually got no units in queue at the moment. Not a single unit, which is not where you want to be as the Malians.
No, and no transition to sofa on the horizon, right? Archers still haven't been upgraded, by the way. Those are not veteran archers. I'm pretty worried for LucifroN here. I mean, Beastie, we talked about the idea of him outdrafting later on in this series. Clearly had a plan in mind. And right now, he's reading and countering exactly what LucifroN wants to do.
Yeah, this is exactly it. All right, well, we hear the next Vizier point come through. Probably going to be looking to drop down that military school if he hasn't already. Otherwise, just might be looking into the accelerated production, but able to take out the first of the pit mines. Still got plenty more to take out over towards that east side, but another battering ram going to be coming down shortly. Look at the production that's there for the Ottoman player. Did you see how much production was there, KP?
It's absurd, right? And like the cool thing about the second ram for him, Drongo, is LucifroN is now at a point where he can't defend multiple flanks. So if you're Beastie, instead of just sending these Sipahi in and being a little bit of a nuisance, send one ram into a pit mine area. If LucifroN responds, he loses the main fight. You've just forced him to choose between losing his head and losing his arm.
I'd probably go with my arm. But then, what is life without an arm?
Yeah, like, there's enough mindless, like, jobs. I mean, surely, like, a PC can, like, be plugged into my neck, right? And I can just, that can be my brain now, right? But if I lose my arm...
I am looking... I mean, the future is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to be happening soon.
I could be me or it could be ChatGPT. Just plug me in, boys.
Well, speaking of the future, it is time. We are here because the push is happening. A lot of spears. The spearman number for Beastie is looking really incredible, but still we don't see the veterancy on those archers just yet. In fact, he's only got 14 archers. There's 5 so far in queue. I don't know where they all are, but he needs them right now.
I mean, they're
Villagers getting eaten alive.
Like 1, maybe 2 stables max. They're not producing quickly. Look at how many are just dead here. This beast was waiting in the woods. Oh, no.
There's so many units here right now. Just Beastie recognized it. He said, okay, it's time to go, guys. And this is the timing push. This is the deadly Ottoman timing push that we always worry about. veterancy, I think it's finally come through. Those archers look a little bit cooler with their sleeves on their arms, but it's not going to matter. Beastie triple the military population of his enemy, make a quadruple. He's just going to keep on stomping these units into the ground, make it 5 times as many units. It just keeps getting worse. 6, 7, 8.
Hey, Elalu, Ilafu. Malian King comes out.
Oh, my lord. Wow. All right, well, it seems like the Malian King is king of more than just the Malians, as he dominates them in that game.
But that's the thing. He has dominance over them. He understands them perfectly. They have no way of taking him down. I mean, that was just a surgical read by Beastie. We talked about the fact that, like, later on in the series, the outdraft was apparent and the Beastie had LucifroN's number. But the execution, man, in that game, especially after the early game pressure, I think the key point in that game really was the dive by LucifroN onto the wood line. Beastie's quick reaction, the fact he didn't lose a single villager, he was able to shield the injured one, which baited the aggro of the scouts even deeper and gave time for the spears to arrive, putting 4 scouts behind. That then made it obvious to Beastie that there wasn't a second punch behind this. That it was a feigned assault to get a tech up. And what does Beastie do? He marches out at an earlier point than most players would with limited vision in that situation. And he finds that thin opportunity from behind in tech to annihilate the Malians. And now LucifroN in quite the worrying situation. Beastie leads, finds himself on match point, and has very desirable Civ matchups for Rocky Canyon and Cauldron remaining.
I think the pivotal moment in that game for me wasn't the scouts on the wood line, but rather it was the decision to go into javelin throwers instead of archers. After aging up, if instead of using the resources to go into javelin throwers, you go into archers, then that also allows you to afford the veterancy.
Also, who was that against?
Look, it might have been like a gold 2 player, but it doesn't matter that it was a gold 2 player.
Oh,
I mean,
no. I'm sorry, whoever that was. I mean...
it might have been me.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, Drongo, admittedly, you've made more grand finals than these players. But would you say you're a better HRE player than Beastie?
How many hands does he have?
So I think he has his feet in his face.
If he's got his feet in his face, I reckon I've got him.
But if he has one hand,
if he's got one hand, I'm probably. I would bet my money on him. I know that you're not normally allowed to bet your money when you're taking part in the competition, but I would just look. I would hedge my bets and just bet my money on him anyway. He's pretty solid with and without hands. He's a good player.
Well,
but
both.
You don't want to mess with this guy when he's got hands.
No, and he has both hands right now. Beastie, he's. I think at this point people just concede the best HRE player in the game right now. His signature Civ, he's on point. This is the time he's been waiting for. Match point, and with the most comfortable Civ he could be handed, he goes up against LucifroN on his last leg with the Deli. It doesn't get easier for him here because the next map, LucifroN definitely likely to be outmatched against the English and Cauldron. But if he wants a chance of even seeing that, nothing but a win will do.
All right, well, let's get into it. 1:45 into it so far. Upgrades starting to come through for LucifroN as he is playing the Deli Sultan and he gets those for free. Let's take a look in the base of Beastie and see what kind of Ark and Chapel he's going to be going for and where it's going to be placed down. He's got a pretty decent spot just to the north of the town center. Should be able to pick up the gold, should be able to pick up... Actually, might even be able to pick up the stone. I reckon you'd probably want to avoid it, though. I reckon the wood's more valuable, making sure you get lots of that wood.
Maybe? Because this is one of those maps where we've seen people go multi-TC. Wait. He's like, do we want this one, Beastie?
I don't even think he knows where he's going.
Okay,
hold on.
He's going for it.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Interesting. So he goes for Juicer instead. So looking for the berries. Is he pushing the deer, do you think? Do you think he dares to push the deer?
I think that's a really cool idea here. And also, like, to kind of speak more as to why you sacrifice gold, wood plus stone, think about where you're placing the landmark. Against an aggro-based Civ, you'd be placing your Archon at the front of your base. This is similar to, like, the Madrissa logic. Like, why would you expose your economy so willingly? So it's actually a really smart call by Beastie to see the greed and realize that it's temptation leading to sin. Instead, he takes the more calculated option here.
All right, well, we'll see how he goes about it. Whether he looks to push deer, obviously going to be an option for him, but LucifroN undoubtedly will scout out and stop it if the option is there for him. But he's got a pretty decent spawn over on this side. Both golds relatively close to his base, on the back side as well, so a little bit safe, tucked away.
And you don't really
Tower Victory up now.
care that much if it's not like the best spawn, right? Because like an H3 player shouldn't be harassing you early on, but it is a decent spot. I think where it's a problem for him is mid-game. Like, consider that LucifroN's resources are all in an open field. So if Beastie gets to Knight's territory, it might be good night for you.
Indeed, good night. But yeah, Tower of Victory. So interesting choice going into the Tower of Victory, but pretty standard, pretty expected in this situation. Obviously, in the last game that we watched, the Delhi, we didn't see a Tower of Victory. We saw a Dome of the Faith come out. But the Tower of Victory here going to be helping out plenty with the defense, at least initially. Now, what's your suspicion that Beastie's going to be doing in this game? You're thinking he's going to play Feudal?
I think he's going to get forced to defend a bit, but his goal should be fast castle. That should be his win condition here. LucifroN has already shown his intent. Like, a lot of players, instead of going for this tech-heavy castle age approach, which, you know, you talked about being able to potentially crack the HRE, would go for Dome of Faith. And the only player we've really seen going Dome of Faith consistently at competitive level is actually Beastie. So most players are still playing for this aggro timing the Delhi have been known for basically a year now. That does require a hunker down approach from Beastie, and I think we are already seeing outposts go up. Wouldn't be surprised if he also walls the east side of his base. Just says those deers are never coming home, but instead also no cavalry are going to come on my flank.
Yeah, that could be one way that he looks for it. But we do see a barracks coming down. So with the outpost going down in the gold, you would suspect that this might just be for... Oh, okay,
dude,
never mind. There's a second
yes.
barracks going to be coming down.
So, like, I hesitated to call it. I didn't want to, like, get into the cast of curse. Like, remember we were talking pre-game about the Road to Roll build that took over in the final weeks, where people would just mass men-at-arms to counter Delhi. And Delhi just couldn't answer it. They couldn't do anything. I think that's what Beastie's going for here. Yeah, men-at-arms already in queue. So his goal is now, if this is going to be a long feudal, I'm just going to keep pressing W, because W is the win key here. And I get 20, 30, 40 men-at-arms, even in feudal age, I dive your base, you're dead. There's no comeback from that.
All right, well, we'll have to see how it plays out and whether LucifroN's able to at least capture one or two sacred sites. And indeed, you're correct with regard to the walls on the east side of the base. So looking to wall out those deer. Not going to be coming home today, but as you mentioned, neither are the cavalry.
Hey, man, I mean, maybe Beastie watched Bambi before he got into this series. Like, I feel bad doing it to him. I already dragged enough carcasses back to eat in the Malian game, okay? Let's not do it to him again. So
and a lot of carcasses there were, but the first of the horsemen out on the map now, making its way across the map. A lot of upgrades starting to come through for LucifroN. Take a look at this. We've got all the tier 1s. He hasn't forgotten any of them. Sanctity. And now we see Forestry also coming in, looking to pick up balanced, or rather, steeled arrows as well.
How many sheep is that? I think that's about 10 with the carcasses included. Yeah, this is... I mean, this can work quite well for Beastie. I think that's enough with the berries to transition into farms. Like, as long as you do that, the men-at-arm spam never stops, right? That's kind of the tide feeling to this strategy. It's like, it will reach 30 or 40 men-at-arms. The question is whether LucifroN's going to see it early enough and understand that this is bad to play long feudal. Unless he can kill them straight away, if they're going to stay in the base, his best move is take Sacred Sites and go Castle Age.
All right, well, we'll see how he plays it. I'm curious how Archer Horseman does against it, but my suspicion is probably not that well, especially against more of a slow Delhi style, which has got the single blacksmith involved. But men-at-arms making their way out across the map. Obviously, the first sacred site already being triggered at this point. Likely that... yeah, that's a lot of men-at-arms.
So here's an interesting thought for you, right? It's like archers with attack speed. Oh, good. I can just slowly whittle them down. Yes, but you're also playing barely any scholars. So anytime you misstep or take some damage, consider that permanent on the Delhi player. So like, then you have to think, okay, if we talk about the effective HP of these men-at-arms, you know, can I kill them quick enough? They'll take a lot of damage to kill each time. And it's kind of like the classic saying of like, they have to, like, if you're playing archers like this, you always have to win. The men-at-arms only have to win once.
Yeah. It's a scary thought, isn't it, facing these men-at-arms. And Beastie up to 10 men-at-arms now. So going to continue adding in more and more men-at-arms, but as you mentioned, there's always going to be the option to head back and heal up. He's only got the single scholar out for now, and he moves towards the middle of the map. So will he be able to pick up a central sacred site? That's what we're going to be finding out now, as a wolf gets in on the action and looks to get a piece of meat.
This is really good. Work. LucifroN, like we talked about this idea of like you could stay at home and wait until you have mass, but obviously that's not productive. Like, you know, you're not doing anything with that force. But now the punishment is like, if you're trickling troops out like this, for now, LucifroN has mass over you. And I love the way he's leveraging those horsemen. Like, sure, you've got marching drills, but these guys still move slow. They can still be body blocked. And they can still be picked off one by one like this.
All right, well, the central sacred site is going to get captured up here as well. And LucifroN building up a pretty decent early lead. I'm liking his position increasingly in this game.
Dude, he's actually, like, he's just playing with Beastie, right? Because Beastie has to go out everywhere to try and block sacred sites, slow down this accruement of resources that LucifroN can achieve. Because I think Beastie's aware of the possibility that, like, Lucy could just go up, right? If he sees no reason to build more army.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, I mean, at this point, once he captures the third sacred site, he can pretty much... He's just got free reign to go up because he doesn't need to contest it. Even if he... Like, he doesn't need to keep this third sacred site. He just wants to... If you're fighting over the third sacred site, then you're not fighting over the second sacred site, are you? So
exactly.
It's just... And look at the numbers coming out from LucifroN. This is looking incredible for him.
Production is escalating for Beastie to get more of those farms layered in. Once he reaches, like, I want to say 12 farms, that's when we're pretty kosher, right? The gathering rate is going to be pretty sustained. And, you know, he has to fall back on berries in the meantime after sheep are gone. But... once you're full farms, we know those farm rates, they're better than the berries. So it's going to escalate the production rate that you have available to you. And interestingly enough, Beastie is now adding in horsemen as well.
So, yeah, okay, interesting. Sacred site in the center going to be contested here, but this is very dangerous for Beastie. If LucifroN catches him out of position, he can wipe this out.
It's a lot of
it's a lot of men-at-arms, but there's so many horsemen. Look at the amount of horsemen he's got. He should be able to... yeah, Beastie does the right thing. You got to get out of here, Beastie. That's too many units for you.
Yeah, it's because he split his forces. There's a bunch of men-at-arms, and I think they're heading towards LucifroN's base. He realizes that this is escalating. The only way that he'll be able to edge out that men-at-arms mass he's looking for is if he starts to put the brakes on the eco at home. So these few men-at-arms, after they decap, they can start to move into LucifroN's base.
All right, well... Sacred site in the north was being decapped. I don't think it is being decapped anymore. Indeed, it's being held for the moment. Look at him. He's looping around everywhere. But more men-at-arms moving up towards there.
It's like stupid when you put it this way, right? Like, he's going to lose them now. But like, consider that one horseman, right? One horseman compared to 4 men-at-arms there. You were idling 4 times the resources compared, right? It's scary to think of it that way. And it's scary what's coming. LucifroN is going for that tech up we talked about. I don't think Beastie's there.
He's going to try his best. Can we get a check and see where the compound of the defender's going up? It looks like it might be right next to the town center as well. So
yeah, it's north side. So he should get this up. But now we see, is the men-at-arms tide big enough? Can it kill everything? In fact, if he's quick about this, he might be able to idle out the villagers before they're done.
That's what we're looking for here, though. But we'll wait and see as the horsemen come through. There's still quite a lot of buildings in here, so he's going to get a good surface area. Town center firing down upon it, and Beastie going to have to fall back away from this position. You can see how much trouble he's had and realize it's not going to be it. Age up's coming through. Once the age up hits, Beastie's going to be in a world of pain because he knows crossbows are only seconds away. And we see knights in queue now for LucifroN. Beastie neutralizes 2 of the sacred sites in the meantime that this is happening. Now looks for Castle Age himself. Still, there's plenty of men-at-arms out on the front line, and they're doing a great job of just dealing with the front line of horsemen. But now expect those new units to come through, and there they are. There's the first Lancer on the field now. And that Lancer single-handedly changes everything, KP.
That pullback from Beastie is really good. He was getting completely brutalized in the choke points because he just couldn't spread his melee. Once he gets in this open battlefield, he still has the edge, as you saw. But it hit him hard, right? It shrunk his military force. He now has to think about Castle Age. He knows the counter is coming out. Also, you know, you are an HRE player who had the possibility of Regnits, but now you're behind. So you have this weird balance if you're Beastie where you now have to keep enough units to block relic gathering, but also find the resources to go tech up. And the cool thing is when you're the HRE, that's easy peasy, mate. 40% gathering speed buff. I'll take it every day of the week.
And all of a sudden, LucifroN, I mean, his numbers were looking solid, but it seems like it's starting to go south quickly. Where did it all go wrong for him? His numbers were good. Was the age up just a little bit too early?
I think so.
Look at the villagers that are idling out right now. They're kind of bugging out. They're trying to go to the houses. Oh, they were actually bugging. I'm pretty sure they were. Did you see that? They were just standing on top of the houses trying to get inside.
Oh my god. Is that like a weird interaction because House of Learning gives you the garrison and they see that as a safe point?
I think so.
Ouch.
I think that might be. They were just standing on top of those houses. And right now, LucifroN with 0 food income. A Wallalol comes in.
No,
He's
no,
gonna
sir.
have to delete that man at arms. Yep.
He
And
was
captures
so
it.
close
Nice
to getting out there as well. And, well, he will at least pick up one relic, but keep in mind that these scholars hurt for LucifroN to lose. He hasn't got many of them. He hasn't got really any gold income. Like, would you like to look at LucifroN's income per minute right now and try not to cry?
I can calculate it for you quickly. So 332 a minute.
Wow, you're great with
less-
math,
less-
Drongo.
Thank you. Yes. There's a lot of values to add. A lot of zeros.
Yeah, don't be baited by the zeros. Don't multiply by them either. That gets very confusing. But, like, you know, the crazy part is, like, the damage Beastie done there, a big part of it came to the fact that he was able to bait LucifroN out of his base on that defense. When he dove that wood line and then retracted, I think the big whoopsies, LucifroN thought he was strong enough to chase. If he didn't chase there, I think he has a big enough mass to hold choke points and get premium units. But Beastie, man, he dangled himself intentionally, and now awkward position for LucifroN to be in. He's only returning the second relic now. This is a Regnit's play. Beastie has enough map control that you could easily get the 3 remaining.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how it goes down. If Beastie manages to snag 3 relics, I think he's going to be very happy with himself, considering the fact he was second up to Castle Age. He was not the first player up. So there's quite a bit for...
Dude,
quite a bit to be desired, but
oh man, that
we'll watch
food
and see
number
how it
as
goes.
well. Like, what was that, 15 farms? So the income is comparative, but I'm pretty sure LucifroN's investing a lot more villages on finite resources, right? Because he's out in the berries. So he's going to be exposed, and Beastie's going to be safe at home, smiling.
Another Wallalol coming in. Beastie just going to be showing off the new relic that he's putting away.
It's a
Says,
great
"Hey,
distraction.
I got it.
Like
It is, isn't it? Yes.
It's like people think it's just a meme, and it's like it's almost, you know what it is? It's an optimal play, but it's also BMing at the same time, right?
Yes, exactly. All right, well, 1 relic remains on the map. It's kindly guarded up by a unit from Beastie, and I suspect a prelate is on the way to go pick it up right now. More Knight's going to be coming in on this top side. And indeed, that 3rd relic gets picked up by Beastie.
Well, let's see what LucifroN can gain out of this, because he's hemorrhaged a few villages here and there. He's hemorrhaging more as we speak. He's yet to go onto stone, and he's a compound of the defender boy. Village fortresses completes in about a minute. A keep is more than a minute away here, Drongo. I'm getting worried.
Well, it depends. It depends how many vills you put on it, but yes, I suspect it definitely would be. LucifroN now looking to push out. There's a lot of units here right now for Beastie. Beastie's got the advantage, and he's just going to absolutely engulf the defensive units here. The crossbows together with the archers just going to get eaten alive. Veterans, he's still yet to come through on these archers, about 5 seconds away. And that push from LucifroN gets shut down, and good game gets called. Your champion, it's Beastyqt.
Beastyqt, the dominance in the way that he baited these awkward probings from LucifroN, pulling him out from his safe points time and time again through this game to eke out a bigger and bigger lead. It's the Beastie we know, the guy who's going to pull you left and right. He's going to start to stack up an advantage, and he's going to come over the top, and he does exactly that. Beastyqt, a man who spent the week feeling a bit under the weather through his own admission. Maybe it was a grand scheme of bait and, you know, secretly he's going to sound perfect on the mic when interview. But no, this guy looked like he was having a rough time. I think his confidence levels had to be in some ways at a low, right? Definitely wouldn't have felt like he was 100% of his prime. But maybe that was the edge he needed, Drongo. Maybe that relieved any pressure upon him. He didn't feel this overwhelming urge to give in to a certain meta or a certain way of playing. He played his style, and he is now our Golden League champion.
Well, I think at this point, KP, it is very safe to say the undisputed champion of the world is Beastyqt. Let's go say our congratulations to him. What do you say?
Let's hop in there, my friend. Beastie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Congratulations, my friend. What an amazing performance. You are the Golden League champion. I mean, first of all, we've got to get the classic out of the way. How are you feeling?
I mean, health-wise, not so much, right? But I feel really, really good otherwise. I'm super, super happy about this. It was a rough start, but, we got it in the end, so I'm super happy.
And talk to me a little bit
Congratulations.
about... Sorry, go ahead, Drongo.
Go. No, you go for it, KP.
Sorry, it's just, I think it's a good one to open with from what you just said is, speak to me about like the health feeling here, right? Like we were fearing that, coming into this, you probably didn't feel 100%. Did that in a way relieve the pressure of expectation on you? Did that kind of make it easier to just play your game and play it the best way?
Yeah, in a way. So for the past 8 days, I've had bronchitis, and the coughing is just crazy. I wasn't able to practice as much as I wanted, so I tried to think about the game more so than actually play. Make sure I, pre-plan and kind of try to get my picks going in and what the opponents can do, what I could do, and so on and so forth. But I did feel in a way less pressure because I was like, I was playing like maybe 4 hours a day leading up to the tournament like past week, and that's in my opinion not enough. So but once my games went on yesterday, I was like, okay, it's kind of working out, and felt really good after the semifinals.
Cool. Awesome to hear. Well, let's jump into the games and talk a little bit about them. Game number 1, the Thunderdome, aka Mountain Clearing. You played the Rus there and had a little bit of trouble early on. What was going through your mind knowing that you were behind quite a bit in the early game there?
The first 2 games were so bad for me. I mean, like after the second game, I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? So this is something that I mentioned, like LucifroN and Vortex are very sneaky, like they prepare really well for the maps. And when he picked HRE, it was obvious he's going to go Burger, right? So I considered that he will pull Villagers, but I completely forgot about Prelate. And when he pulled the Prelate, I was like, oh God. So it's like, do I cancel? Do I not? And I actually, initially, going into the game, I was like, I should just build a back Kremlin, and because he will go Burgrave, let's just camp it out, and then Rus wins on that map. And I was like, no, I'll secure the boar, deny the relic, maybe he goes Cathedral, and well, it turned out to be a very wrong choice, because after that, it just kind of went downhill.
And, to that kind of point, like someone you've been vocal on before is the feeling like LucifroN is one of those players that he likes to put his best foot forward early on. Between the break and that kind of know-how that, the first few games is probably going to be LucifroN his most potent. Did that give you confidence that the longer this series went, the better off you were?
Yeah, so the map draft, I mean, I'm not going to say it favored him or like didn't favor me, because I'm not sure what he prefers, but the fact that it was mountain clearing into Golden Heights, which is a hybrid map, I felt very uncomfortable because there's a lot of civs you can play there. So especially on Golden Heights, so I felt like I'm taking a big gamble whatever I take in Golden Heights. Because, for example, Rus beats aggressives, but English can snipe the villagers of Rus, but Mongol can beat English, but Ottoman can beat Mongol. So after losing the first game, right, I was like, oh, this is not a good start. And when Golden Heights was second, I had no idea what to pick, to be honest, because I felt like if I pick a wrong civ and I just lose out a good civ, I'll be in a really bad spot, because I think Rus is a really good civ and I already lost that. So I decided to go with China because I felt that the rest of the maps were not that good for China. So I was like, okay, if I lose, he'll pick one of the strong civs. So if I lose, it's still fine. Like, I don't mind. And the fact that he picked Mongols, in a way, I was happy that I lost that matchup, because I could have lost, English or something else, which would be very, very bad.
And
let's talk about your overall draft, because it was both KP and I felt that you outdrafted LucifroN quite well. If it went to a final game, you had English in the back pocket up against the Rus. How confident were you going into that last map on that, just in case it didn't go well on Rocky Canyon?
So there was a lot of mind games. So the first 2 games, I didn't know what he was gonna pick, right? Because after that you can start kind of deducting what's left, what you can go for. So when we played on the pit, I was like, I thought he will pick Delhi. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna play Mongol, and I was like, I just hope it's not Ottoman. But it's 1 in 8, and you kind of want to snipe Mongol with Ottoman. So I lock in Mongol, and I see Ottoman. I'm like, oh god, not like this. So I thought that's gonna be a 3-0. But after that, Lipany was, I think, obvious choice for both of us with Abbasid. And after the pit, I kind of started to get a feel of how he wants to play. So once we got down to 5th map, I knew that he is at that point is saving Delhi after I play HRE. So what I did is I just saved my HRE until the very last moment. So for example, on Basin, I was like, okay, if I go Malian, it doesn't matter what he goes from the remaining civs. I should have an advantage. So when he picked China, I realized, okay, he's waiting for me to use a good civ or something to give him a tell what he should play. And then on Dry River, he only had, I think, Malian at that point, Malian, English, French, and Delhi. And I was like, I played HRE last time against Marine Lord on Dry River. So he will not risk picking Delhi, which means that he will most likely pick English. So I picked Delhi to counter the English. And when it was down to the last 2 maps, it was basically, or I guess last 3 maps, he was either going to pick Malian or Delhi on Dry Arabia.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I was him, you don't want to risk picking Delhi, because if I pick HRE, he's screwed. So I went with Ottoman into Malian, which is what I wanted. And at that point, I felt really good for the rest of the series, because I knew that I have HRE and English left, which are both very strong civs for me. And I think the last game, to answer the question that you've asked, and I kind of went on a rant, English is very hard to beat on Cauldron, because you just pull villagers and you just kill the villagers making dock. So, and Rus is not really a civ that's going to fight you with Spearman in Dark Age. So I felt super confident, even if I lost the map that we just played.
Yeah, I think we were theory crafting, like the only way Rus could make sense is like some sort of Kremlin into like a militia assault on the lake, but like it would come so late that the game would almost feel over. So I think from what you're saying, like the kind of key point where you kind of had him by the gonad, shall we say, it was around Dry River, right? Like that must have been where the confidence was through the roof when you took the win there.
Yeah, I mean, when I actually saw that he did not make a second dog very quickly, and I saw him aging up super fast, I was like, okay, he's gonna commit to this. And well, Delhi in feudal is a lot stronger than English, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna try to rush castle. I'm not cutting any corners. I'm not even gonna go for second dock. Like, let him have 2 docks or 3, whatever. I'm just gonna mass units. And problem with English is, you have infantry, so once you overextend, there's no retreating. So at one point, I cut off the reinforcements, and I just kind of went back and squashed the army, and at that point, it's game over.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit earlier about this idea of, because you couldn't play much, you weren't feeling really rough, you kind of had to play that mental game. Do you think that actually kind of stepping back and not grinding as many games, but instead of like taking this mental approach that someone like Mister is renowned for, maybe that was a big edge given instead? Because instead of just kind of quickly playing only X amount of permutations, kind of sitting there and theory crafting, you can probably explore things that you otherwise wouldn't.
I mean, yeah, of course. I think, in a way, when you play best of 7 and best of 9, I generally think that thinking about the games and the draft is equally important as actually practicing the games. So it wasn't the worst thing. Like I said, I did spend a lot of time thinking about like potential civs and everything, and doing like research. Which map did he pick stuff on? Which map did I pick stuff on? I didn't want to overlap my picks at any point. So like I said, the start was a bit rough, but after 3rd, 4th game, it started kind of going my way, and I think most of my strong civs were at the end. So even when I was down 2-0, I wasn't like, oh, the game's over necessarily. I still had Malian, I still had Delhi, I still had English, and all those civs are very good for me. So yeah.
Well, I
I
mean,
want to take you back to the. Oh,
no,
sorry,
sorry.
Kathy. I was
Go
going to
ahead,
say I
Drongo.
want to take you back to the fourth game that you guys played. It was on Lipany, Abbasid versus Abbasid. And I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Well, not the elephant, the camel in the room, the donkey in the room, if you will. Trade. You were playing up against the trade wing. You took the eco wing. The trade wasn't even that good. The market's pretty close to the middle of the map, and yet still, LucifroN was able to come off with a victory in that game, if I remember correctly. I'm hoping I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about trade currently in light of that game?
I mean, I feel like the spawn was very unfortunate because he had like a wood line covering his trade, so he needed to do like a 10 wood wall and it's completely walled off. And then his outpost was like at the edge of his TC, which like the TC covers the one side and then the wood line covers the market. So I felt like I actually didn't even scout for the trade. I thought he's just gonna go eco wing. So I saw the trade wing way too late and I was already mining stone and I was like, do I just sit with like 260 stone? Do I throw down the military instantly? And at some points I felt like it was kind of going well. But it doesn't matter how many traders you kill. So, they just keep coming and eventually you just start falling more and more behind. But I think trade is, I don't think it's a problem with every Civ. And in general, I think my biggest issue with trade is not the fact that you can trade, but once the trade starts going, you lost the game. Like, if I don't do something, the game's over. That's the part I dislike about the trade, but I would still like for trade to be a viable strategy, just not to the point where, oh, I try to stop it, I didn't, I guess I lose kind of thing. So, um, I don't think it's necessarily like unbeatable, right? There's always a way to beat it, but it's just it kind of forces you to all in, and if it doesn't work, you're just dead.
It's that feeling that, right now, sure, trade is strong, but I think like the thing that we always got to be careful of when we talk about nerfing it is if we don't find the right solution, we just return to TC booming, right? And like then we argue, maybe that was less kind of toxic in the way that it snowballed, but the worst situation is when you have a go-to strategy, right? Like think of the Horse Archer Only Day or Age of Springald. Obviously, you want that diversity, I think, is what you're getting at, where trade should be strong but situational.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would personally love to see Age of Empires 4 where castle rushing is viable, 2TC is viable, trading is viable, and all-inning is viable. I think that would be the best for the game. I don't think the trade should be nerfed to the ground where it's just unplayable. And to be fair, I think trade is not an issue in most matchups, but there are some matchups where you cannot trade or you can trade freely because you got all the time in the world. And those are the matchups that are kind of rough. Like if you play against Malians, you're not going to trade because of the scouts, right? So I hope trade gets something done to it, but I do hope that it remains like a play style and a strategy that people can go for.
Well, I think we've picked your brain quite a bit. Kind of rounded out. I think we've kind of hit in regards to that way that you feel about the meta a little bit because trade is the meta. Just kind of looking forward, like what's your kind of outlook on Age of Empires 4? You feeling positive about the way that the balance team is taking things? And is this the beginning of a Beastie dominant Age of Empires 4 competitive scene?
I mean, maybe we'll see. We'll see which sickness I have next time. At Red Bull, I had kidney stones, and I have bronchitis. So,
I remember.
we'll see what I'll have next time. Right? It's a bit hard to say. Maybe my hands are unavailable to play or something. I don't know. But in general, I like where AoE 4 is at. There are some things that are overtuned, like Warrior Scouts obviously need a nerf immediately. I think Zuginu need a nerf as well in terms of like cost or something. And I think trade needs something done to it. Not really sure why. It's not my job at the end of the day, but and hopefully French gets some kind of buff because I think French, honestly, all the way up to even Conqueror 3 is completely fine. But at the top level, it just does not have bonuses to compete with the other civs. So I hope they do something to French, and I hope they don't buff the trade, but they give them something else that makes them a little bit better. It's a shame because their crossbows that I don't dare pronounce are actually insanely good. Like they're actually one of the best units in the game, but their eco bonuses are so bad you can't get there anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I think if anything maybe needs nerf, and after what we saw from you here, Beastie, it might be you. You looked powerful even when you were feeling under the weather. Congratulations once more, but I think we're going to let you give that throat a rest. You have entertained us all day long, and it was an absolute pleasure to watch you claim the title here at Golden League 2.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, EGCTV, for the tournament. Thanks, everyone who watched me and supported me. I hope you guys enjoy the games, and I will see you on my stream. Have a good one.
Thanks, Beastie.
All right, wonderful to hear from him. We're going to hop back in the other channel in prep for someone else, so we'll hop across there, and we can dissect what's happened here, because what an amazing performance coming out from Beastie. Let's hop across now.